Content warning. The following video may contain material that may be harmful or traumatizing to some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. I am not giving medical advice or telling others how to live their lives. This channel is for philosophical, ideological, metaphysical, and comedy purposes only. Fair use. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing.
Hey guys, I'm actually waiting for one of you to get back to me, but I did want to say this is going to sound, everything I say, I always have to warn everyone when I'm about to say sounds right. Dude, I had the exact same experience that Alex Jones did. Like everybody talks about Alex Jones being this crazy dude and all this shit. I had the exact same experience he did. And it's weird because when he said his experience, and when I say exact same, like exact, okay, when I was a kid, I used to get in trouble all the time. And I remember, I had gotten arrested. I can't remember what I had gotten arrested for, but I was in the system or whatever, being brought from here to get my thumbprints or whatever. I was in the system and they were doing their little stupid shit. And one of the cops, I was being mouthy with him. Now, I was never I wasn't a tough guy. I wasn't a tough guy. I wasn't trying to start a fight with a full-grown man. But I was sort of a funny, snappy kind of kid. And I would talk to them like that. Just because they were wearing a police uniform didn't mean shit to me. I wasn't going to treat them any different than I would treat another adult. But I was sort of mouthing back to the guy. And now I just thought this was just the ugliest motherfucker I've ever seen in my life. But looking back and again, once he told his story, I was like, oh my God, that's what happened. Okay, anyways, I got arrested and I was back mouthing this cop, and he's like, and I still remember the whole energy in the room changed. He was like, oh, what, do you think you're tough, punk, or something like that? And he got right in my face, and again, looking back, it happened so quick. Okay, I'll just tell you how it happened, and then I'll tell you what my thoughts are on it. Okay, but he gets right up in my face, and he's like, you think you're tough, kid? But his face changed into a fucking like some ugliness I've never seen on another human face before. I mean, into a demon almost. It's funny they say reptile. I mean, looking back, I could see why people would say reptile. I wouldn't say reptile. I would say reptile-like. But yeah, this cop was a demon, dude. I don't know how to explain. His face changed, and he did it right in my face. I could see it. Well, he started doing it as he was coming, and by the time he got close to me, his whole face looked like a fucking demon to me. But I'd never seen anybody get so ugly in their face. A human being get so ugly. I can get, how tough can you really look? This dude went way beyond. His shit transformed. Okay? He looked like a demon. By the time he got, I was like, and my reaction, okay, again, this scared me. The way he looked scared the fuck out of me, to be honest. I went but on my reaction, I was handcuffed, but I was like this. I went, ugh. I went, man, this dude's ugly as fuck. That's what I said. But he was still kind of backing away, still looking evil, man. This dude looked like a demon. But I didn't know how to react, so my reaction was to go, whoa, because he got real close to me, and he looked crazy, dude. This dude, I've never seen another human look so demonic or evil in the face. It's impossible to do what this guy did. But he transformed back into a regular, middle-aged, thicker, chubby, kind of looking white dude. Kind of, unbrushed, not well taken care of. Sort of sloppy looking, I would say. But regular cop in a cop uniform kind of looked sloppy. My dog might be chewing something on the door, guys. Sorry if you hear that creaking. But yeah, when he told his experience, I was like, what the fuck? That exact thing happened to me. But Alex Jones, of all people, had a similar... I can't remember. Recently, somewhere I seen he was on a podcast or something with somebody. Recently I seen... I'd have to go in my history if you guys were super interested to see what I'm talking about. But recently he had talked that story. And I was like, what the fuck? That happened to me. But I wonder, that almost makes me wonder if it even did happen. Why would we have the exact same experience like that? Me and Alex Jones, of all people. Again, just that dude said that shit, but it's crazy. I believe him. I believe him. He told the exact story that happened. Well, anyways, That's crazy that he told that story. Did I tell that story before to you guys? I don't remember ever telling it, but because it was him telling the story that kind of again. But until he told it, I didn't think the dude was transforming anything. I just thought it was a really mean-looking motherfucking guy, and he used. What I really thought was this dude works with little douchebag kids so much that he developed a way to look as ugly as he can, just to get them to shut the fuck up, pretty much. Because I could look like a demon if I want. I could get so ugly. That's what I thought. But when he told stories, like, dude, that guy he didn't look human. He didn't look human looking back in hindsight. And what he did was impossible with his face. Like, you can't make your whole face change. This dude got so ugly. I'm telling you guys, man, I'm telling the truth. And Alex Jones, my son, oh my God, this is an interesting, I'll say experience that I had. And it's weird, super interesting that somebody else had the same one. But then, come on, if there was like lizard people as cops, my brother Tom would have seen them and told me about them. Like, you know what I'm saying? My brother Tom's been a fucking cop for like 20 years or something. Or like 15. I don't know. A long time. He would have seen my brother Tom did see some weird shit. I'll say he did see some weird shit. He seen a dude. Well, anyways. What was I talking about? I don't want to lose my train of thought. But I don't think... I don't think he ever saw like lizard people. But dude, I clearly remember a situation like that. And... But again, I had sort of a different perspective on it up until recently when Alex Jones told almost the exact same story. So that makes me think, are there lizard people in facilities? But who knows? Maybe they're just demonic humans. Like, maybe he's a bad cop. Maybe he likes being evil. And as a child, we were more susceptible to seeing the entities attached to these humans. I don't know if their face physically changed. That's why the cop standing there didn't react to it. In my situation, there was another cop there when that dude did that. Like, okay, so they were talking to each other. He was talking shit, and when I said it, so he transformed right in front of another person. Like, now he wasn't facing exactly at the guy when his face did the thing or whatever, but I said, yo, this dude's ugly as fuck, or something like that, or something about him being ugly. And I just pulled away because he looked crazy. And I said that to kind of alert to the normal looking dude that didn't turn into a fucking demon. This is crazy. Oh my God. But yeah, this happened. That's funny. I never and I need to tell my brothers the story too, because I want to see if they remember something like that happening. Because again, up until that point, but now thinking back in hindsight, it's crazy. He's right. That dude transformed into something, dude. It wasn't just an ability to look real ugly. That's what I thought. I thought, man, this dude got so good at his job, he could fucking scare people with his ugliness. That's one of you guys. Give me 1 sec. Well, yeah, that's interesting that it took an Alex Jones moment to re-jog my memory of something crazy and sort of, I guess you could say, paranormal. But again, in my mind, it wasn't so paranormal. I just really believed that this dude learned how to get ugly, which makes no sense. But it took him, again, I never re-thought about that memory until he told that story. I was like, oh shit, that happened to me. Somebody actually did that to me. You think you're tough, punk? And their fucking face transformed into a fucking demon. A lizard, or he just got so ugly that it's just the type of dude you would never want to be face to face with. Just the ugliest. I don't know how to explain it, bro, but he was not an attractive young man. This dude looked fucking crazy, bro. He wasn't that good looking when he was sitting there looking normal either, but man, this dude had a demon inside of him. But I think that's what I was going to say, that as a kid, that we just, we can see things like that. We can see things like that. That's what I think happened. That I don't know if he actually turned into a lizard. Because, again, the other cop didn't respond to it. And even when I had sort of said, like, oh, this dude's ugly as fuck, to sort of alert that other cop, he didn't respond to it. And the dude just, like, looked crazy at me and stood up and went back to looking normal. But I'm pretty sure there was a point where the other cop was kind of looking at him. But then, like, if that was just a normal interaction, the cop would be, like, looking at him, looking at me. I don't think the other cop seen it. So I don't think, okay, It might be that because we were young, teenagers, whatever it was, when we're more susceptible to seeing spiritual attachments. Maybe that's what we saw in that fucking cop, dude. He was just a dark person, and he could fucking show it to us. We seen more than just a mean mug. We seen the demon in that motherfucker. Or the lizard or whatever. I'll probably just make, because this is like a rant anyways, this and the conversation with one of you. Dude, the amount of distractions lately, actually, like trying to just set up one fucking call. It's like, it's almost laughable. It's like, what? How does this happen? I'm in a life situation where it's actually difficult to distract me. Like, there isn't much that can happen in my life. And things will pop up to stop me from doing something. And it'll pop up again, and pop up again, and pop up again. And it's like, okay, fuck all this little stupid ass life shit that keeps popping up. I need to go and have the conversation with this motherfucker, because it feels like something's preventing me from having the conversation with him. Hopefully he calls back soon, but just another day in the Dookie Boy run. But it felt like when I had read his comment, he's like, it seemed like he had lost hope or something, because he said something like, it doesn't matter, even if I wanted to talk to you, it's not going to happen, or something like that. So I was like, okay, I got to talk to this dude, because not that I'm like only talking to helpless people, but I do hope that he knows that I'm here, I exist, we're both going through this crazy fucking bullshit together. You know what I'm saying? I know how he feels. I know for him to leave a comment like that, I think I know how he feels. Again, maybe I'm making assumptions, but hopeless. It's like, man, fuck this reality. Fuck this fucking Dookie Boy realm. You know, if he feels like literally, even if I just wanted to have a conversation with another truther, it's not going to happen. That sounds hopeless to me, and it's like, I hope he's not hopeless. But anyways, we're going to talk and see what the fuck happens of it. If the reality of script-running fucking mind-virused humans allows it to happen, fuck you, you stupid fucking bizarro realm, Dookie Boy realm. It is the fucking Dookie Boy realm. I don't give a fuck. Call this shit what it is, boys. Let's not hide behind curtains of stupidity for our mental vaginas to thrive in their comfort zones. My camera's like a little bit in a different spot this time, isn't it? Well, anyways. But what the fuck was I talking about? Something distracted me. I think I heard one of those fucking popping noises too when it distracted me. Yeah, there's these things, these energy entities are attached to electricity. If you go outside, they're powerless. And actually, if you go outside barefoot, they're almost immediately powerless. Anxiety. Oh, and there is something actually to crystals. It's interesting. Like I said, now that I can sort of feel energies and stuff, there is something to crystals. The ones that calm the most, like if you wore a necklace full of pink, or no, what is it? Rose quartz, I think, is what it's called. Yeah, it's quartz, but it's like pink. That shit's calming as fuck. Like if you're upset and you take a fucking handful of, put it near your damn chest, you will calm down. Pink quartz is what I think it's called. Actually, it's interesting because the crystals that I started ordering, like in the box, every time you order a box of one of these, the lady sends you a little pink quartz crystal, and in each box. And I thought that was a cute little gesture, so I put I ordered like 8 boxes of them. So I put them all on one necklace, and it's just one necklace full of a bunch of different little pink quartz. And I don't know if she prays over them or blesses them with calmness or something, but I will say that they calm me the fuck down if I put them near my chest. If I'm like upset or... So there is something to crystals. I haven't sat... Actually, it's funny. I haven't sat here and messed with these ones in the last few weeks. I've actually had these for months, but I should re-examine these ones now that I can sort of like feel energies. But it is what it is. It's interesting. I wouldn't ask for my reality to end up the way that it did, but then again, it's like I would never take back one day or do it different. than how I did. So, I know, what am I saying? I would definitely, there's definitely some days that I would take back. What am I talking about? No. I'm talking out of my ass. No, yeah, honestly, if I'm being honest, no. Yeah. Me versus the mind virus. Yes, honesty is the only way to be. No, there are days I would change if I could. There are things I did back in the past. I go, man, I fucked up there. What was I thinking? But again, if it's me that goes, what did I do there? That wasn't me, but who was it? Oh, sometimes humans make mistakes. That's like a cop-out excuse to describe away some sort of invisible entity that works through us that behaves abnormal to our behavior. Because like that seems like what's really going on. It's like, how do you describe the behavior of a person that doesn't agree with it, that did it? They did it, but they're like, wait, that's not me. Why would I do that? That's the mind virus thing. Dude, the thing's super powerful. It would make the most evil people in the world feel like they're on the righteous path. They feel like they're the good guy. They would feel like they're the good guy from their perspective. That's how powerful. You don't think it's powerful? It can literally lie. It could literally cast an illusion right on your eyes. You don't believe me? You can look in the mirror and see something that doesn't exist. It's that powerful. What do you think body dysmorphia is? That is the mind virus casting an illusion upon the eyes of the individual. I've been in decent shape most of my life, but I've never seen myself that way. I still sort of don't. I have a body dysmorphia. I don't look in the mirror and see somebody that's physically fit. I do not. And that demon was attached to me. I can tell you my why it happened. I don't know. I got picked on a lot being chubby as a kid by like siblings or whatever, but it never really bothered me. But there was a time where it was very severe. What my father did to me was like humiliating, and I think that fucked my brain up because that's where the demon was formed, and that's where it attached to me. But like, it doesn't sound too mean or evil, I guess. Like if you compare it to real like actual abuse, but like my father would like walk up and grab my gut like aggressively and shake like my fat and be like, you're fuck, in the Greek language, tell me how disgusting I was, pretty much, like how gross and disgusting I am. And it doesn't sound like much, but when you're a kid and it's in front of everybody and it's humiliating, it's like that shit affects your mind to the point that the demon that attaches can keep feeding off you because of it. We found this one up. There's the trauma. Woo! Let me lock in. Let loose feeding entity number 27 feed off this one. One sec, guys. Or why am I going to turn it off? I'll just answer the call. Hello. What up, one of you?
Hey, buddy.
How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Good. You know you're fucking lying. Well, okay. So I'm about as good as a sane human being could be in a fucking bizarro Rome reality. Good. So you actually are good, or?
Hold on a second. Hold on one second. I'm trying to get my, my speaker to work. I had my speaker thing working a second ago. 1 second. Sorry. Oh, here it is. Well, I use that. I use that as obviously as a figure of speech, but
yeah, me too. I do it at work all the time. How you doing? Oh, I'm good, but I'm lying my ass off.
Yeah. It's like, well, it's. Oh, by the way, are you recording the call?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think one of the best descriptions I've heard is what you've said about it, and it's the conflict realm, and it's designed to cause inner conflict. It's clear. It's clearer than I think most things. There's a lot that there's a lot that we can wonder about, we can go back and forth on, we can debate over, but there's a few things that are very, very clear, and that's one of them. It's definitely,
we see the final result.
What's that?
We see the final result, and it's obvious.
Yeah. It's obvious. I mean, it's like, when I think about certain things, and I start really examining kind of like how it's making me think and how it's making me feel. It's like I'm going, it's driving that inner conflict in me again. It's like you're looking at it and you're going, what the hell is this? Like, why? Like, what's the purpose of it? And unfortunately, it doesn't make it any easier when, I think you could probably say it too, although it sounds like, you have a pretty good relationship with your brothers, and it sounds like your brothers are at least somewhat open to these conversations. So,
amen, brother. I actually just started laughing because I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's like almost like a broken record type program repeating over and over and over and over and over again. Almost like, man, does this thing run out of fucking gas or what?
Yeah,
it's
it doesn't.
Super obvious, yeah.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It doesn't run out of gas. It doesn't. I don't know what the hell. I don't know what the. I honestly don't know. I mean, other than it being a conflict realm, and other than it driving that result, and obviously it. Obviously, and I think a lot of people in this like community, they call it the truther community, or we refer to it as the truther community, right? And it's like, I think, and I know he gets a bad rap from a lot of us, but Matt, quantum conscious, and he, he's recently brought it up. About the inner conflict, and he's like he's hasn't said it a lot in the past, but more lately he's been bringing it up more and saying like it's obvious that it likes negative energy. It's obvious that it's because it could try to produce good stuff and happy feelings. It could do good feel good kind of news and all that, but it's always bizarre. There's always some freaking conspiracy behind it. There's always a million questions that nobody's asking, and nobody's even getting close to asking. And then there's this very small group of people in this community that talk about these things and think to ourselves like, what the hell is going on, like, and why? But yeah, I mean,
and painted into a corner to feel crazy to speak about these things. Don't forget that point.
Right.
Like, it's unfortunate, but yeah, the reality script creator, writer, the thing that plugged us into these low-level entities, whatever's actually going on, did a very good fucking job. Like, I talk a lot of shit. I'll curse it. It's nothing. It's a low-level degenerate, but it's actually extremely powerful and extremely intelligent. But I guess I do that to sort of get people to sort of stand into their power to it, because I think that when we die, I think that's very important, especially, and again, these are my beliefs. I don't know this stuff for 100%, but it's just my personal belief, and I don't know what drives me, and I'm even starting to question what personally drives me at this point, because I'm starting to wonder if the same mind virus that always distracts and uses the elite for what it wants them to do is the same mind virus distracting me for what it wants me to do, putting me on a righteous path, putting the love in my heart to drive me towards love and to fight for what's positive and good, even though at the end result is more struggle in my life and suffering in my life, and potentially more struggle and suffering in other people's lives as I expose more what is always negative truth to them. It's just a weird, this is a bizarre realm. It's hard to even paint it as anything. Like, well, we could talk about all the almost true subjects, like it's a simulation. No, it's a spiritual realm. No, it's a learning ground. No, it's a karmic balancing school. It's a blah, blah, blah. But it's like, we're still just talking shit though, man. Like, this is what's really happening over here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I sort of, that's why I guess sometimes I project my hatred or discontent for like religions or just beliefs in general. And that's what's weird is somebody would say, well, then do you believe all the crazy shit you're saying? And I would understand their argument. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's an odd, interesting reality.
Yeah, no, I that's, well, I mean, the one thing that you said is, I mean, you said a couple things there, but one thing that you said, and you've made mention of it before, and that is, you know, whatever is going on, it's like, it's highly intelligent, you know, and it's, you know, because there is that other side where, you know, you can look at it and you go like, you know, it's just like, why would you bother doing this? Like, what a waste, like, of some of this garbage, you know? Some of it's just so bizarre and just like stupid. And then, but on the other side of it, it's very extremely crafty. And that's why, you know, a couple times I've seen it in the comments, and I've even commented about it myself, and I've just said like, that's what kind of steers me away from the thought of it's just simply AI. Because AI, if you look at AI, and I know all the, you know, the best AI hasn't all been revealed yet, and, you know, what we're seeing now is, you know, AI being able to, you know, take somebody's voice and, you know, make them sing a song and it sounds just like them, or sounds very similar, or it's like pretending to write a song. But what we're seeing with all of it, and I think I even commented on one of your videos saying this, but what we're seeing is, we're seeing AI just simply duplicate what already exists and mash it up a little bit and, you know, put a couple different layers on of what already exists. But whatever we're dealing with is far beyond what, in my opinion at least, far beyond any kind of just simply AI, you know, or if there is AI involved in it, somebody's behind the screen, somebody's behind it doing something, right? Somebody, like something or some being or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whatever is pulling, whatever you want to call that. And there's a number of different things people have, you know, come up to reconcile it. And I mean, you know, I think you and even myself in the past, you know, I've taken more of kind of a scriptural approach to it, and it's like a Satan kind of being, you know what I mean? Or this evil, dark entity, you know, that kind of thing. And it's like, I don't really know. I mean, again, I don't really, there's so many variations, and I've heard so many different descriptions that all kind of fit, you know, they all kind of like, you know, whatever one people like to use doesn't really matter to me. I never get distracted by that stuff, because I'm just like, hey, give it any label you want, but the characteristics, we're all identifying the characteristics as the same thing. You know, at the end of the day, that's
Yep.
the bottom line for me. It's like, you know, what you notice it does, what I notice it does is the same thing. It's like the conflict realm kind of thing. When you said that a long time ago, I immediately just took on to that. I'm like, that's one of the best descriptions ever. And I've said that a couple times on your comment section, which, by the way, it's one of the things I love about your channel is that you do the comment replies.
I appreciate that, dude. Thanks.
Yeah, and it's like I seriously don't know why more people don't do that. That's like, it's so bizarre to me, because it's such a great way to interact with people that follow your channel.
Yeah, why don't more people do that?
I don't know. Like, well, that's, you know, that's the whole thing. Like, that's the whole thing about, like, Matt. Like, you know, a couple things have come up with Matt, and of course, you know, this whole thing with the insanity machine, whatever that dude is up to, like, and him bringing up Matt and stuff. But here's the thing I'll say about Matt. It's like, I don't understand. See, what's really bizarre about him, and I know there's a couple things people brought up, but what's really bizarre about him is that he doesn't acknowledge, like, any of the really good comments on his page. He only acknowledges, like, these really bizarre, like, comments. And he has a good opportunity to, like, read through his comments and reply back to people the same way you do.
he doesn't
You know,
respond to like real good comments and stuff. I've heard that.
never.
To me, it was when
Never.
he stood behind vaccines. I was like, "Yo, what the fuck, dude? What are you talking about?" Like, I didn't understand that. I was like, "Why is he doing that?" Like, but anyway,
I
it's like
didn't.
maybe they're good. I was like, "What? Why?" But anyways, I didn't understand that, so I was like, "Yo, something's going on with the dude. Maybe the mind virus got his ass a little good or something that day." But
I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that at all. So I mean, if he did say that, I'd be very surprised because I know he's said many times over the past the complete opposite. I don't know if somebody took it what he said out of context or what it was. I've never personally heard that, and that's so it's like, but. Do I doubt he may have said it in some context? I don't know. I don't know what the context was. You know what I mean? So I don't.
No, his argument was actually more philosophical, but he still sort of took the side of the. Anyways, it was more like, maybe he thinks he's doing the right thing. Maybe, but I don't know if internally he's thinking about his buddy or something. But he was trying to like justify what he was doing, saying maybe it is okay for us to go and do that. And I'm like, whoa, dude!
Yeah.
The moment that he said that, I was like, no, it's not. Like, well, let's come back to physical number one. Let's not get too mysterious here. Like we've seen enough evidence that it's like. Well, anyways, I had by that point I had seen enough evidence. I'll say, but I know the average person doesn't. But
Well, I mean that whole thing for me day one, dude. I mean, like the day they they announced like there was a shutdown. I was literally screaming at the people around me, going like, do you realize what this is? Like this is insanity. Like this is just crazy. Like, and they're looking at me like, oh, it's only 2 weeks. What are you talking about? They're and I'm just like. Oh my gosh, like you cannot believe that. Do you actually, it's like, think about what's happening here. And I'm just like, literally everybody around me, and going along and I'm just like, no way this is happening. No way that not one person is questioning any of this and can see any of this. Like, literally nobody. And I just completely blown away by it. Completely like, but again, the conflict realm. Here we are. This is all this stuff going on. What's it doing? Ultimately, internally, creating conflict.
Internal conflict, external
in
conflict, projects from the internal. That's all it's interested in, and that's all it's ever interested in. There's not one such thing as this. The person that can hear, I think, the voices we all hear, there's not one schizoid that always hears, you're so beautiful, you're so lovely, you're so amazing, you're so rich, you're so perfect, you're so... No, it's always negative. My thing with the voice that's in the ears, I think in the subconscious of all of us, like I said, if you meditate or pay enough time looking at the mind and the thoughts of your own individual thoughts and examine them more deeply, you'll realize this, but... that there is a sort of mind virus. We're just debating whether it's spiritual, whether it's technological. I think technology is spiritual in the physical realm. I think that's it reaching in. I don't think that came from humans. Some people say, oh, it came from aliens. No, it comes from the fucking demon mind virus thing that feeds off of us. But I think that it's a feeding thing, because what is the point? Like, that is a great argument, like you said, what Matt was saying about the positivity thing. Like, why not just create a beautiful realm and then feed off the happy loosh? I think I had said that on my channel before. Why doesn't it do that instead? You're still getting your loosh, like it doesn't matter, and the things that you're feeding off will be so ignorant that they will love it. But I didn't understand that neither. That's a great argument.
Well, that's the thing about it. It's like, you really think about it, you go, okay, so one thing we do know, if you put something beautiful, let's just say a good looking woman in front of your path, just a gorgeous girl, and you know what that does to you. That just like makes you happy, right? I mean, you're a guy, you're like, oh, she's beautiful, she's gorgeous. She's talking to you, you're even happier, it's even a better situation. And you can go, okay, well, that derives, that produces something. It produces like some kind of emotion. It's a happy emotion. But what we observe over and over again is the more frequent occurrence. And, you know, the beautiful woman is sitting in front of you and she's rolling her eyes and she's trying to get away from you because she, you know, like we live in this society that, you know, paints everybody as, especially guys, as freaks. And, you know what I mean? It's like, and what does that do? That produces that conflict again, because you're like, what? Wait, what? What happened? Like, I was just saying hi. Like, you know, but we see that over and over and over again more frequently. That's, you know, and
plus it helps to reinforce the attachment back to the physical slavery realm of monetary gain and all that, because a lot of it falls into that basket too. Not too many. I don't know. Well, I'll say that there's just a lot of. It's more about material for a lot of people.
Yes.
It's not about like true love or any of that anymore. That's actually very rare. I've seen it here and there. Like, don't get me wrong, it exists, but there's true love. But yeah, it seems to be rare nowadays. It's more like about shit like that. But I don't know. Well, I don't know. I guess I never really thought about it. Like, I never really had an issue. Like, usually if I would. Well, anyways, but so yeah, I think that it's an endless conflict creation between men and women right there, like you had said, to create conflict between them. I think it creates conflict between my team, your team. It creates conflict between my country, your country. It creates conflict between my race, your race. It creates conflict between. That's all it does, over and 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 over. And it's like, okay, so it's definitely. So okay. It's definitely feeding off of something. What is the point of that? Because so I'm sorry, let me ask you, do you think that it's about loose? Do you think that we create something that's something else? What if it's just as simple as entertainment? Like, what if it's just sick, demented, and enjoys watching us suffer? Like, I mean, it could be anything. It seems like that to a degree, if I'm being honest. That's a believable theory as well, that it's just a demented sort of God that feeds off of the conflict and suffering. It's watching it like a video game. It's not all that important to it. Obviously, it's like, wouldn't it be, if human life was super important to it, wouldn't it be more obvious instead of just in our fucking imaginations? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, to answer the question as to what it really is, I've thought a lot about it, and I'm the same way. I don't really know I don't really know, is it louche? Is it just pure entertainment? Does it like seeing the look on your face when you're disappointed or scared, or is it just like that? Is it just, get off on that kind of stuff? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. But what I do know is whatever it is getting or likes, it likes that emotion. It likes that part of it.
Yep.
It does, because if it got something from the opposite way, you would think you would see more of that. You would think you would see more of the opposite direction happening, right? You'd see more feel-good stories in the news. It's like, well, I'll go back, go way, way, way back and think. And at least for me, and I can't answer this for anybody else, but I know a lot of us have said, that, it's a period of time where we were asleep, and I say, yes, sort of. Yes, sort of. I get what people are saying, but if you really think about it, and when I've posed this question to people, and they've been able to reflect on it, I said, if you really think about it, though, the really thing that separates like people like us, and during that period of time is, if somebody would have brought something to your attention and said, yeah, that's kind of weird. It's kind of weird that the news is always negative. I remember being a kid and just thinking, like, why is the news always negative? And
Where's the good news?
And I would even bring it up. I would even bring it up to people. And I remember it was always the same thing, always the same answer, always the same script. Well, bad news sells, and it's all about money. And I'm like, and the older I got, the more and more I thought about it, and especially when I really started breaking it down, I'm like, none of that makes sense at all.
It's bullshit.
So you got to tell me.
It's a complete lie.
Tell me. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's just it's it is a complete lie, and it's complete BS. And it's like, if you look at it, you go, wait, you're telling me the only reason they're focusing on negative all the time, just all this nastiness, all this craziness all the time, is because that's the only thing that sells and that's the only thing people are going to watch? BS, dude. Come on, give me a break. Yeah, I mean, that's a good line. I like, at least you're consistent with that lie, but it's not the truth at all.
Yeah, like there's no human in this reality that wants to turn on the news and see some fucking good news for a change. That story wouldn't sell. No, we found the cure to cancer. Nobody wants to see that. It's like, what are we talking about? So illogical.
Nobody wants any good news. They always have to give you bad news because that's the only thing that's going to make them money. It's like, come on, man, give me a break. I mean.
It's a silly reality. It's silly reality with silly people saying silly ass shit, and silly motherfuckers actually believe in the silly shit. It's interesting.
Right. No, it's like, it's like whether you think about, what happened on that crazy day in September 20 years ago, or you're thinking about, people flying up in what Matt calls toaster ovens up into the sky and landing on planets and all this stuff. Whatever you think about, like everything. I mean, anything big, at least. We're not talking about puppy dogs being saved, and pulled out of like a bush on your local news. We're talking about the bigger picture, right? Anything that they present is always littered with like all this craziness and weird questions, you know what I mean? Like weird little aspects of it. And
things to infuriate you. Things to stir up anger and and then they're doing this. But then you find out they're lying too. On top of it, the news is lying, and then you hate them for being evil, and then you hate the ones that are paying them off, and who's the ones behind. And all it does is it creates hatred, anger. It's just like that's it. Conflict creating realm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, amen. Yeah, and it does it in every aspect of our lives.
Yeah, and what I do know, and here's another thing that's very observable and very clear, is that we can call them the normie, right? The everybody around you, most everybody around you, the normie, the people that are just totally bought into it completely,
super intelligent, yeah.
Yeah, and you go, okay, so you present those kinds of things. If you bring up those kinds of things to people, just your average everyday person, they're going to look at you like you're crazy. And this whole thing about well, they're doing it to create division amongst us. And I go, okay. Well, if that's true, but the problem is if that's true, that may be true, but the problem is people still buy into this, and people still believe this garbage. It's like they don't have the ability to step outside of it and go, yeah, none of that makes sense, and why are we arguing all this? They believe that kind of stuff. That to them is truth.
Yeah, it's
that
bizarre.
To them is. What's that?
It's bizarre. It's some people would say it's a spell. Some people would call them NPCs. Some people would call them mouth-breathing fucking retards. I mean, just to be honest, man, I don't know what's going on with them, and I've sort of given up. I think that them being the way... okay, because I'll tell you why they are the way they are. Because this is the final result, and it's one that frustrates me and you. Like, the fact that they exist the way they are in and of itself is the thing being used by the system to infuriate us and feed off us. I think that's, right. I know that sounds crazy, but I think it loves its final result of you suffer in the end as the Earth observer creature guy or gal.
Right. Yeah. No, it's that's why, when I hear things about like, they're a different breed or a different species, and we're a different breed or we're a different species. For me, again, I don't exactly know what label we can give that or to what extent that's true, but I do know it's true. I do know that I think much differently than most people around me. That's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
And the reality of it is the few channels that exist in, this community all say the same things. Every single one of them, you included. I mean, you just go down the list. I mean,
hello?
yes, I'm still here. Sorry.
You had said where you had left off was you don't think the same way that most people around you do. You think very differently than most people around you.
That's something I've observed, something, when I hear, yourself or the other channels that are in this, like I said, this small little community, all say the same things, that, the people around us, think much differently. From observation, that's just absolutely true. I see it over and over again. And, you can even get, I don't know, you can get people that maybe are even on the more conservative side of things, right? People that are, into freedom of speech, so to say, and people that are, for, allowing people to have guns, and you can go on that more conservative side of things, and you think that they're typically more open to a conversation. And when you start breaking it down, you start realizing, no, actually, I can get them to start defending this reality and this craziness by just simply bringing up certain things. And then all of a sudden they'll be, looking at me, again, like most of them do, is going, oh no, here we go again with these conspiracy theories and with all this other stuff. And then, ultimately, then you find out, well, they're all the same. They start just defending this.
I don't know if you cut out or if you were finishing your thought. The last thing I heard was conspiracy theories.
Oh yeah, I said that once you start talking about certain things, they'll just start chalking it up as conspiracy theories.
Oh yeah, well that's like main protocol number one of stupid human mind script. You one of them boys? You believe that? It's that's a very low level creature you're talking to, incapable of critical thinking, from my perspective.
Well, yeah. Well, you can show them. Here's how insane it is. Okay.
This is why they exist.
What's that?
I was saying this is why they exist. It's to create anger and frustration in us. To be honest, that's why they really exist. Again, I fuck it. Tinfoil hats are on. I don't give a fuck. I'm just gonna say it how it is. I think that is why they actually exist. Really, at the end of the day, is to do that, because we. That's why you feel alone in this reality. But I think you have a soul. I think that there's like soul creatures, and then there's the rest of this realm. This realm's like a sort of illusion that feeds off of conflict and negativity. And I literally think that those things exist. I don't even know if they eat food. Like if you sat out in front of their house, if you followed that guy home that was that stupid, let's say, and sat out in front of his house, I don't think you would ever see him leave his house ever again to grab groceries. We're going cray-cray here tonight, but I literally think those people exist to create frustration in the lives of souled creatures, and they're literally illusions to a degree, used by the thing that's feeding off of us.
Honestly, I mean, okay, so as crazy as that sounds to people, right? Because it definitely will. It definitely, people are going to go, oh no,
without
here
question.
we go with like some crazy stuff like that. But the reality is if you were to pay attention, and you probably have, but if you were to pay attention, I'd go, yeah, it's kind of weird, like, if I really start thinking about it and I really start examining some of the people I know and some of the people around me, I'm like, they really do actually display very bizarre behavior. And as a matter of fact, when I start thinking about one of them in particular, I'm like, the guy freaking never leaves his house, like ever. And I'm going, or if he does, it's so rare. And I'm like, that's just not possible. That's just not possible. I mean, I can understand it, to a certain period, but to the extent that I've observed it is like, it's just too bizarre. So there's several things like that. That's just one of many observations you could make. I mean, I don't know don't know who said it exactly. It may have been Derek at one point, but I know he did. Derek definitely brought it up, but I know a
Actually,
few others.
a channel I was subscribed to a long time ago had brought up how she had mentioned how graveyards in her area never grew. That there's all these people dying, all this going on right now, and the only argument back against it was that like there's just more people being cremated. But even as a kid, I remember seeing hearse constantly. I don't know if the vehicles have changed. Actually, I think I've seen a hearse recently, and they're just a more advanced looking version than they used to be. But I don't see them as often as I did as kids. Almost like people aren't actually dying either. But it's just like the
Well,
constant fear machine. Yeah,
oh
the
yeah,
water's poison, the air's poison. You're gonna die. You're gonna end up getting the thing. You better go get this and
yep.
do that. It's just like, oh, I see
Well,
what this thing's doing.
yeah. As a matter of fact, I do remember you bringing up that channel. And I do remember you mentioning that. And that's funny that you. And at the time, I don't think I. I don't think I bothered making the comment because it would have been too long of a comment to put on there. But when you said that, it made me think about this experience I had with somebody I work with, and that is this lady I know. Her husband kind of runs a funeral home or does funeral home sales or something like that, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so few years back, right, in the heart of it, in the heat of it, it's all heating up. I'm just like, she's telling me, I hadn't talked to her for a while because nobody's seeing each other, everybody's locked in, right? And then I had an opportunity to have a call with her, and I was like, "Hey, how you doing? How things been going?" I said, just out of curiosity, um, how's uh, how's your husband's business right now? And she's like, basically it's slow. You know what I mean? It's like, and I'm like, huh, and I didn't say anything. I didn't say. I just wanted to hear what she had to say because I wasn't going to say, well, if how could that be with all, what I mean? I didn't want to get into it. I just wanted to hear what she had to say. I just wanted to see what she was going to react to it. And I said, so it's, I was just kind of asking her, like, because you would think from what we're being told that would just be a booming, skyrocketing. And it's already what I already knew. I didn't need to really ask that question, but she gave me the answer, the exact answer that I was expecting. And that is, yeah, it really hasn't changed anything. And that when you said that, it started making me think about that more and started making me think about a couple other things because it's true. And then the other thing was, it's like I was looking around and, I remember a long time ago, my dad, when I was a kid, saying like, he's like, we're on the freeway and all these cars are like, he's like, where the hell are all these people going all the time? Like nonstop. It's in the middle of the freaking day. Isn't anybody working? Isn't anybody doing anything? Always nonstop. People going and
Yep,
to and
traffic
fro.
never
Just
stops. Every minute of every
never.
day. There's not like this subsection part of the day where it's like, well, this part of the day, man, no one's really doing shit around here. No, it's always there. It's like, what the fuck are people doing all the time?
Right, right. Yeah, I wanted to sit and set up a like one of those like checkpoints and just be like, just out of curiosity, where the hell are you people doing all day? It's
Yeah.
like, how is this even possible? Like you guys, it's like, but what it does though, when you start thinking about that, what it does though is it really does start breaking down on what you're told everything is and how everything works. And you start taking it a little bit further, it's like the graveyard thing. I mean, when I started thinking about that, I started thinking about, because I have visited many over the years. It was just kind of one of those things that I've always liked to do. I don't know why, just kind of a weird thing, but it's always kind of a place I've liked to visit. So I'd literally go, if I was on a vacation, I went to a new town, a lot of times I'd go to like a cemetery or something like that.
You're the second
So I had a
person
lot.
recently that's actually said this. That caught me by surprise. Somebody that was attracted to cemeteries. That's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So I've done that in the past, and when you said that, when you made that comment about that channel, I remember thinking, yeah, you know what? You would think, I mean, with what we're told, you would think like you would just see the ground torn up everywhere, always, like always something going on. And yeah, you might once in a while see, a little tractor out there and a little, dirt above the ground because they're digging a hole, but it's so infrequent. It's so rare that it doesn't really make sense. It doesn't really make any sense at all. And so again, though, I mean, and I personally, I like to ponder those things because they're just fun. It's like a hobby. Some people will say, "Oh, it's just a distraction. Don't worry about that." And what I say to that is what you're saying is stop thinking about those things. And for what reason? Because when I start thinking about those things, what it does is it allows, from my perspective, it allows you to go, wait a second. All of it starts breaking down. Everything starts breaking down. And you're like, that doesn't make any sense. Well, that doesn't make any sense, and that doesn't make any sense. And then what you can have to conclude is, yeah, you know what? A lot of things we're told just don't make any sense at all. And the reason behind them just don't make any sense at all. And it just all starts to break down.
Dude, everything in reality breaks down when you analyze it closely. It's very bizarre. I think that's why a lot of people think it's a simulation or an illusion. I mean, that's a great argument because like even if you break down how much jet fuel is being used every day and the amount of traffic of fuel liners and the amount of meat we eat every day as opposed to the amount of cows being slaughtered, just like every single fucking subject in reality is like that. Like when you truly look at it, you're like, dude, none of this makes sense. It's almost like a confusion realm on purpose.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh well. No, it's no, absolutely, and that's why when you said in the past, like the conflict realm, I go ultimately, what is it ultimately when I think about it? Because I do still like to think about it. I still do like to ponder it because I go, it's just fascinating. The plane thing, the fuel thing. I'm like, I thought about that over and over again. As a matter of fact, 2 weeks ago, I ran into some dude, not some dude I know, just randomly. I started talking to some guy, and he was telling me what he did before he retired, and he was like a mechanic or something in the for the military at some point, and then he worked on planes. And I said, you know what? And now we're talking somebody that spent. Now think about this. We're talking somebody that spent 20 plus years doing this, and all he did exclusively was he was a plane mechanic. So he was around that whole environment the whole time, and we're talking jet planes, right? And so I was just like, started thinking about it. I'm like, I just want to see what he says. I said, kind of interesting. I said, I've always been kind of curious, where do they store all that fuel? And he kind of pauses, right? And he's like, I think there's like tanks underground, but he's like, it's a good question. He's like, I don't know. And I started thinking, I'm like, you've been working on planes for 20 plus freaking years and you don't know the answer to that question? Like, I'm like, it just starts breaking down. I'm like, how is that even possible? How is that possible? How is it possible this dude, that's been working on military jets for 20 plus years in the military doesn't know the answer to that question and has spent who knows how many hours working and fueling planes and seeing them take off and all this stuff and doesn't know where all that comes from?
You couldn't find somebody closer to the subject than that guy, and he still don't know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I forget who demonstrated it. There's another channel that demonstrated it one time. It was just fantastic. Oh, it was this dude. I know what it was. I don't remember what channel it was, but this dude interviewed, and he listened to an interview. This guy interviewed this son. It was a breakdown of this video. So in the interview, there's this son, and he goes to interview his dad, who works at NASA. And his dad works at NASA, and his dad makes some kind of heat shield or something like that, some kind of component. But it's like it was a heat shield, and you start hearing the son's questions, and then the dad comes back. He's like, "Well, good question. I don't really know." And he had a couple responses like that. And the guy that was breaking down the interview and doing the dialogue that would think more along the lines that we do, he's like, just think about that for a minute. He's like, just think, there's this guy. He's working for on this project and knows very, very little about anything going on around him. Mm-hmm. For all he knows, it's like he's making this thing. He doesn't know what it's for. He doesn't know the answer machine. You're right. He doesn't know what it's for. He doesn't know the answer to several questions. He keeps saying you'd have to ask so and so to get the answer to that because I don't know. And it's like, again, just a complete breakdown of what makes sense. And but here's the thing. You can do that. You can do that kind of thing and think through those things over and over and over and over again. And there's just thousands of examples of things just not making sense. And, for me, I mean, some people will say that's a distraction. I'm like, no, it's not really. I mean, what it does is it helps you kind of think through a lot of this stuff. And I wouldn't discourage anybody from thinking through that and a waste of time. What else are you going to do? What are you going to do? Sit around?
That's a great point, actually. I think I'm even guilty of saying that that's a distraction. I think what I'm saying most of the time when I say that it's a distraction is I'm trying to describe the machine itself to people. But no, I still think that this is the most important topic in reality. What's more, I don't know. I think so, but I see this as the most important topic in this fucking reality. I wouldn't get on YouTube and talk about it every day unless it was super important to me. But I guess you're right. No, at the end of the day, what is there that's more important to ponder?
Right. Yeah. No. There's. I mean, you think about it. That's why when I hear somebody say that kind of stuff, I usually just chalk it up as I don't like using these terms, but I go. I usually look at it a lot of times as like a disinformation agent kind of comment, like a don't think about that. And it's like, why is it really that dangerous? Should we just not go down that territory? Is it that scary? We just can't think about it. And it's like, no, these are the things that help you develop that thought line of going, wait, like what I've been told about that whole thing just doesn't make sense. And but you have to ask those questions first. Like the plane thing, the fuel thing. It's like when somebody first brought that up and I first heard that when I heard that for the first time, I was like, yeah, you know what?
That was Matt. I remember that was Matt, I'm pretty sure, that brought that up.
Yeah, I think so. But when I first heard that for the first time, I said, you know what? That's a great question, and it's a question that I've actually had, but I've never really taken the time to ponder it and go, wait a second. I've been on planes before. I know what they say. I've seen the wings flapping upside down in the air and moving back and forth.
Wobbling.
And I'm like, wobbling all over the place, and I'm like, I'm sorry, there's no way there's 15,000 gallons of fuel on that wing. I'm sorry, that's just not true. Yeah, that's just not true.
The internal structure to hold that much weight of liquid, those things wouldn't be wobbling. They wouldn't have a sticker on there saying "Do not step" because you might break the wing by stepping on. But they're holding 50 trillion gallons of fuel, wobbling like a damn feather in the wind. That's it's funny.
Right. No, that's exactly it. And so when you start thinking about stuff, you're just like, that's just, that explanation just doesn't make sense at all. And then you just start carrying it a little bit further, and you're like, yeah, wait a second here. I see I mean, you should see lines. According to what they say, it burns. And I remember many, many years ago getting into, I was doing like a Gmail debate with these guys years and years ago. And, one of the guys was a big environmentalist guy, and he's trying to say, oh, we need to, stop doing this and stop doing that. I said, it's kind of interesting. I said, you also kind of brag about flying all over the world all the time. And I said, thinking of, if I just average my consumption of fuel, I'll just take the last 10 years and just say, my commute back and forth to work, store, I'll factor in a couple other things. And I say, and I remember at the time Googling what a plane uses for fuel, right, during a flight. And I said, you've said you've gone here. I said, your fuel consumption, and this has really nothing to do with what I'm about to say, but I said, your fuel consumption says, I couldn't burn that much fuel. All the traveling you've done, I couldn't burn that much fuel in my car in 10 lifetimes. So your whole argument about, the fuel and the environment, I said, you don't believe what you have to say because you're full of it, right? So fast forward, years later, I started remembering that argument. I go, wait a second. You take a busy airport. You're out in Florida. I don't know what your busy airport is, but just take like LAX or something out in LA. And if you've ever been out there, and I don't think you have, but if you've ever been out there, you see plane after plane after plane after plane. I mean, planes as far as you can see, just taxiing on the runway, getting ready to take off. And you go, okay, so we got these, if we just do the math with what we're told they burn, where the hell are all the fuel tankers that are just lined up on the road bringing fuel into this place? Because there's just no way, there's no way any of that math makes sense. Yep. None of it. So all to say, all of those things.
Oh, you're saying like you would sense the traffic. You would see. I agree. You would see tanker after tanker after tanker after tanker. There would literally be a stream of gas machines bringing gas in every day, filling up their reservoirs or whatever. But yeah, you just don't see it.
You don't. No, you don't. So whatever their explanation is, just doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. Now, is there an explanation? Probably. I'm sure somewhere deep down there's some kind of truth to it, but I do know this. Whatever I'm being told about it doesn't make any sense at all. And when I ask people, right, and they confirm, so I can go to people and I can say, "Hey, have you ever heard that the average flight of a plane burns like 15,000 gallons or whatever number it was at the time?" And they would go, "Yeah. Have you ever heard there's like 15,000 gallons in a plane or the wing of a plane?" "Oh yeah, of course." That's just kind of common knowledge things. People just sometimes know those things. It's like, well, so it's not facts that I'm just making up and pretending to believe. Mm-hmm. These are things that are pretty much commonly known around people, but very rarely do people sit and go, wait, if that's true, that couldn't be true because there's no way. And again, you would see just miles of, trucks, semi-trucks full of fuel, the fuel tanker trucks, just lined up on the freeways, just bringing in fuel. There's no way that the explanation given makes any sense.
Yeah, and you took it actually a step deeper in the previous comment where you had said, and even when we go to the brightest minds on the subject, they can't even make sense of what's going on. It's a very, that's to say, like every single subject falls apart when you look at it. Every single subject ends up falling apart when you look at it. It's like, the jet fuel's one thing. I mean, and it gets crazy, but it's the most logical explanation. And as for the ones that can't see it or refuse to, I really think just weak-minded people are more prevalent than we realize. I think they're the higher percentile, like 95 percentile of people are just very weak. Like, even, okay, if what you said to me, even though it sounds exactly true to me, it's all logical, it all makes sense, I still can't take on the reality you just told me about because I don't want to live there. I want to live in my pretend one. So I believe most people are that way. I don't know if it's an NPC thing. I actually think that we come in pre-programmed to be, not I think, I mean, I see evidence of it on a daily basis. The human thing just creates like mental comfort zones to deal with a reality that they don't want to actually deal with. So it's really just a mental weakness, and it's unfortunate that that's what's popular. I think it's in the higher percentile. When you talk about mental weakness, or people that will willingly, ignorantly choose a path they know is wrong to maintain the worldview that they have, which to me seems like the ultimate mental weakness, but I believe most people are that way. I may need to run and get a drink. I think I'm good. But yeah, I think it's a weakness, maybe that's a mental comfort zone for me because I don't want to think that they're fake fucking NPCs. Like, I don't want to think those endless traffic guys, maybe they go from like house A to house B if you followed them. And then after that, they go from house B back to house A again. And they just do that all day. Like, they're I don't want to believe that there's like fake things, like, but I do think not I think, dude, because I've seen intelligent people do it too. Like, I'll say, or fuck that, I'm guilty of doing it. I'm guilty of finding mental comfort zones to deal with harsh reality, so I know we do it. It's not like I'm speaking from ignorance, I'm speaking from experience. The human does that, and a lot of them are very weak to the point that, again, if they took on your worldview, they can't live in that reality.
Oh, I know. The NPC thing is been a big thing for me, just thinking through it. And I haven't really gone back and forth with it a lot, meaning that I necessarily doubt what it is. What I've done though is I've looked at, like anything else, there seems to be what I refer to as like the spectrum. And the spectrum, because we hear that term with regard to other things, like there's a spectrum of like people that are autistic, right? They're on the spectrum. And you hear that term is thrown around quite a bit. Well, I think with regard to like NPCs or backdrop people, or whatever term people want to use them, and I've heard over the last several years several people say I want to get away from using that term NPC, and it makes people, for whatever reason, feel uncomfortable. And I start going, because you probably don't want to believe that about people around you. And I totally get that. I 100% get that. And I think what I've observed, at least from my perspective, is that there seems to be, again, from my perspective, and it seems to be a spectrum of the NPC. And that is, there's what seems to be some that can really interact with you really well. Like, you can have conversations with them. You can kind of have like really good conversations at times. Sometimes what appear to be somewhat of a deep conversation, not really, but like in some certain respect, maybe it's political, maybe they're not driven by the main political narratives and anything like that, and you can get them to question some of that stuff. But I think what ultimately happens, and I've seen it happen when you just bring up certain subjects, is that I've literally, and not in terms of like a robot, not glitching out like a robot, but you bring up certain topics that are talked about in this community, like the plane thing or the fuel thing. You can start bringing stuff that up to people, and you almost start seeing them like really glitching out, like just going like trying to avoid the subject, trying to get away from it. And
yeah, dude, because like I said, even if you make actually, the more you make sense, the more it frightens them. I think that they're just, holy shit, that is the reality. No. I think that's what's going on. I think it's mental weakness. I don't know if it's an intelligence thing, because I've seen intelligent people do it. I think
No, I
it's
don't. No, I don't. No, no. There's. I'll put it to you this way. I'll put it to you this way. And again, if you want to call them an NPC, I have zero problem with that because it's a term that I've used over and over and over again. I think it's very fitting.
I also don't like it, but
well, I think it's very. I think it's very fitting in certain things. And I'll say this again, back to the spectrum thing, because there are people that I know that I've called NPCs before that I've said, no, they can't really be that bad. They're not really that bad. But I've seen others though, where I mean they're literally a shell, and there's nothing behind those eyes. I mean,
I've seen people like that too, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've literally seen that, and it's like that to me. There's nobody that can convince me that that's a real person in the sense that, it's like, yeah, I think if I walked up to them and punched them, I'd probably knock them out. I think they would probably drop like a real human, but I don't think they're a person in the same sense that like we think about what a real person is, because I've seen them. I've just had so many experiences without getting into like everything and going off on different directions, but I've just seen so much evidence and I've had so many interactions with people that it's like some people, call them NPCs, I don't care what you call them, backdrop people. Some of it it just breaks down and you just think like that behavior is just not consistent with somebody that would have like just a normal personality, like they look normal. But if you really start paying attention to them and you interact with them, there's just something very, very bizarre. And they have a lot of times very little to say. And because I think they can't say too much. I don't know. It's like, that's
I've had
another
experience
one.
with these people as well. Yeah, I've personally had experience with these people as well. I mean, I would go as far as saying, like, imagine having a 2-year relationship with someone who's your best bud, you're around them all the time for like 2 years, 3, 4, 5 years. And
Right.
never once did they ask any deep question.
Yeah.
Any complicated thought, they're just good with not talking and being a sort of NPC autopilot drone thing. And this actually, unfortunately, this will destroy relationships. I mean, because it's I would say once you're conscious, it's very hard to be around people that aren't conscious. It feels like a weird energy drain act. Like being around NPCs feels like an energy drain. Maybe they're not NPCs. Maybe they're actually those entities fucking being projected in front of us and they're literally feeding off us there. But it literally feels like an energy drain to coexist with unconscious people. But I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, that's I think you brought up a excellent point there. 3, 5, 10 years, right? And you start to reflect back and you're like, oh shit, like if I start thinking about it, and again, this is one of those things you just pause and you go, none of this makes sense. You're like, I've literally known this person for I don't know how long, years, and not once have they ever engaged with me in anything that's just other than surface level. They're literally there. They focus on the same things. They never have any curiosity.
Incapable
They're always
of
going
a critical thought. Incapable almost.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they seem to get aggressive if you do bring up a deep thought. Because it's not like it's almost like the energy changes to, well, now you're annoying me with your presence. You're talking about this deep stuff. Like they love you, they almost seem to get annoyed by it. And it's like, oh, okay, so you're literally incapable of thinking on that level. Well, yeah, I've definitely experienced people like this. People I love actually have been like this. People that were my best friends, people I was extremely close to. I would try to open up to them on a deeper thought of, dude, what do you think's going on here? Man, I don't know, man. Pass the beer or something, just say some dumb shit. And it's like, huh. So
that's exactly
it. Like,
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly it. And that's why I say, like, if you were to push it with some of those people and really try to get them to engage,
they get angry.
you would see Very angry. I've seen it. I've seen it happen several times, and I'm like, okay, so we got a consistent little pattern here. If you take this person off of
I would say that's not them. I would say that's not them. That's the mind virus working through them. They're on autopilot. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what arouses their anger. Where does the anger come from? Do they even know why they're angry? I don't think they would be able to answer any of those questions. I think you're asking deep questions in the reality where you're not supposed to do that. Agent pops up, make him angry. I really think it's like that.
Oh well, I'll take it a little bit further, and you might have even experienced the same thing. I'll take it a little bit further. You're hitting on something really powerful there, and that is you do that, right? And you said that you think that they might not even know what they're doing. It's like, well, I've had it happen where I've literally seen come back like a day or 2 days later, and sometimes a week later, and they don't have any recollection of that experience. They don't have any real, they don't have any real. They're like,
what do you mean you don't remember it? I've had that before. Yeah.
It's like literally like you don't remember that No, I don't remember that conversation. I'm like, and then I like that's perplexed me. I'm like, how could that person like not know? And then like all the years later, I'm like, oh shit, no wonder. Yeah, okay, now it all makes sense. I'm like, they were taking over. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They were just like taking over, literally.
That's a great point. Actually, I never really thought about it. Yeah, I've had that. I've never put piece of those things up. Yeah, they were in that moment controlled by the mind virus. And actually, I guess I said this in a recent video. I'm also responsible for doing certain things that I've done. And when I look back, it's like, what was I thinking? Like, that's not me. So I think that when we're conscious of it, whatever the fuck it is, we do have more power over it. But I still think that even as powerful as we can get, we're not ever completely absent of it. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe I'd have to meditate, 18 hours a day to get to that mental clarity state. But I think that it works through people, and people aren't supposed to ask deep questions in its reality. And that's super obvious in the micro, the macro, in the internal conversations we have between personal people. Even mainly on the macro. It's like for people to say that this reality is a learning school is almost the opposite. This reality goes out of its way to restrict open thinking. This reality goes out of its way to make derogatory terms for free thinkers. This reality goes out of its way to do the opposite of learn us anything except get up, go to work, suffer. So it's like, this definitely ain't a learning school. What the fuck would you be learning in this realm? But
Yeah, I've always liked when you've brought that up, and you've brought it up several times. You're like, what could you possibly be learning here, and why would you need to do that? And when you said that, I remember the first time I heard you say that, and it was along the lines of the conflict realm. And it's kind of one of those things where it's not something I didn't know or didn't think about all the time, but you articulated it in a way where it resonated with me at the time, where I went, oh yeah, you know what? That's a perfect way to describe it. It's a perfect way to describe it. And it's like, it's made me stop and think, because I've gone and said, and I've made excuses. I don't want to say made excuses, but it's like this. I said, you look back, hindsight, right? We use that term, hindsight's 20/20, that phrase, and to some extent that's true, right? I mean, you learn. And I will say this. I will say over the last few years. Well, what happened? So here's the thing. What happened a few years ago really pulled back the curtain on what a lot of us, I think, knew about, just the, people around us and the way things function, right? We saw the curtain pull back, and you were able to see people like literally just zombies, like literal zombies, like they ask no questions, do crazy stuff. I mean, I remember watching a compilation of these TikTok videos of these nurses dancing, in these like operating rooms and putting on these very choreographed like skits during all this stuff going on. I'm like, it was like one of the creepiest things I'd ever seen. It was like like a real life scary movie. It was like, whoa, like,
Man, this
like
place
how is
got
that
dark.
even? What's that?
Like, man, this place got dark.
Yeah, oh, real dark. Yeah, real dark. It pulled back the curtain on all that stuff, and it's like you start thinking about it, you're like, man, like, ooh, that's that's again, it's you're looking at it, you're like, how is that even possible? Like, how is it possible nobody's asking questions? How is it possible nobody's like thinking through this? And then worse, to compound the problem, is if you're bringing it up, you're being shut down and you're being called crazy and you're being told to shut up. And it's like, just, shut. I remember literally somebody telling me that, like on a post, on a social media post, they're like, just shut up. And I'm like, and this was somebody I really knew, like pretty good. They're like, they're just shut up and just, do what you're told, basically. And it's like what? Like, and how is it nobody asking questions? But I don't know. I don't, like I said, all the terms we come up with, and doesn't really matter to me. All I know is I'm able to observe it. I see it, and it's fascinating. Oh yeah, that's what I want to get to, the learning school kind of thing. It's like hindsight's 2020. You learn back, but you're like, when you really start breaking it down, you're like, why would I need to go through that to learn that lesson? Couldn't you just tell me that, or like in another way illustrate it? Did you really need to? Did I really need to do that? Did I really need to see that? Did I really need to observe that to learn that kind of thing? And I go, yeah, I don't know. I don't know that that's true. It's like, yeah, I feel like I've learned some things, but if what I've learned is, like freaking some of this stuff is just crazy, it's just crazy. That's what I've learned. It's like, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's craziness. It's insanity at some points, it's just like
Pure chaos.
Totally bizarre.
Yeah, none of it makes sense. There is no actual truth down any rabbit hole you do go down. There's a bunch of almost truths. You could search for truth over and over and over. It almost makes me wonder, where does this search for truth come from? And then I think that it drives me and keeps me occupied as well, the search for truth. In the same way that demonic elites are occupied by sniffing children or whatever the fuck those creepy boys are into, the same way I think that if there isn't, it kind of has all of us by the balls. Not completely. Again, I think once you're aware of it, it's sort of powerless, but it's paradoxical like that. It's not a powerless creature. What do you think about that? Do you think that that's possible, that we're dealing with some sort of mind virus? And do you think it's spiritual technology? Do you think it's both? What's your opinion on that?
I definitely think from my opinion, my perspective, I think it's definitely the bigger picture, the overarching picture, it's a spiritual thing. It's a spiritual battle. Like when I hear people say that, I go, yep, right on, spiritual battle, because that to me is what it seems like and what it appears to be. And I just go back to my days before I came across Chris's channel on YouTube or knew anybody, I mean anybody that was even close to having these conversations. I just go back way back. And I would go, yeah, it's a spiritual battle. It's weird. It was just so clear to me. And I would always back then try to bring that up to people, and people go, oh, okay, him hawing around, and they're just like, whatever.
Sorry about that one. If you, I'm back. You hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. So you, could you just reiterate what you said again real quick? What do you think that's potentially a mind virus infiltrating humanity?
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I as far as the mind virus goes, I don't know. I mean, we can use that term, and I like it. I like it to describe kind of what it is, but it's like I mean, in terms of a virus that like just overtakes and, does something, it seems to, if it is like a mind virus kind of thing, it's probably, it's obviously something that can be turned on and turned off. I think people, I don't know, when I see people's reaction to certain things, I just go, as long as you're not talking about certain things, as long as you're not bringing up certain things, people can be pretty mellow, not, they'll talk about the sports and what's going on, and, they'll contemplate this or contemplate that, but, when you really see the mind virus, if you want to call it that, when you really see it come out is when you bring up certain topics, that's the reality of it, and what it is exactly, I don't know. I don't know.
It just doesn't want to be discovered. I would say that's what it is in that moment. It doesn't want to be discovered. I don't think. Okay, well, I would say this is why I think that it's happening, because all the negativity makes no sense. So there must be something feeding off of it. Well, if there was something feeding off it, did it create the realm? And if it created the realm, wouldn't it create the realm in a way where it was constantly monitoring, making sure that nobody ever has a deep thought or a deep contemplation, because it would take a deep thought to reveal the thing that's got us under its control, the thing that's doing what it's doing to us now, obviously. Why would people's brains shut off when you revealed the most important information in reality to them? They don't want to live in that reality. It's literally a mental weakness, I think. So do you think that, so do you think it's a mental weakness? Do you think that they're NPCs?
I go more along, it's like, again, there seems to be a spectrum of it. I would go along, there does seem to be a mental weakness to some capacity, but I think when I've pushed, what makes me really like lean towards a kind of an NPC kind of thing is when my interactions, when I push certain things, when I brought up certain things, is what makes me go, when I see people react very, very bizarrely at that moment, I just go, wait, okay, so...
Oh, so you're saying because of the extra aggressiveness towards certain specific topics.
Exactly. No, exactly. So you can observe this, and you probably have without maybe even necessarily thinking through it. But you can go to a bar, go have a drink, and go watch the game, and go talk about the sports, and have. And then bring up a deep question
and see the bizarre reaction.
Yeah, well, number one, you're never going to walk into those places hearing this conversation. Never.
No. Well, never. No, I don't think so. Nope. You never would.
No, you would never. So if you were to walk in, as long as you're just keeping, we call it surface level. As long as you're just keeping things at surface level, you're going to be fine. But watch what happens when you start bringing up certain topics. Just start bringing up conspiracy kind of stuff, and here's the fascinating thing about it. So you could show somebody, and we've all heard it, and I think a lot of people have heard it, but over and over again, you've heard this whole thing about the terms, conspiracy theory. Well, the term conspiracy theory was created by the CIA to distract people. So that has become more common knowledge, but definitely in these days than ever before. So many people will be familiar with hearing that, right? That the term conspiracy theory was intentionally created to demonize people that think about certain things.
Yep.
So if you were to go in and you were going to talk to your average person and just say, repeat that, they might go, yeah, I've heard that before. But what you're going to do if you start really saying, well, do you believe that? Do you really start breaking it, like really start thinking about, do you believe that that's true? What you're going to see happen, you're going to see them start defending what's going on. And you're going, no, that's too, you've gone too far there. There's nothing going on. You're gonna see they're gonna get mad. I've seen, I've had very close people to me. Very close people to me, just people I've known almost my entire life, flip, over certain things and go, you got an agenda, and go crazy on me and just turn into like a different thing to the point where, it's just like, whoa, what happened here? Like what, and I mean, why are you so, like, especially about certain subjects, I'm like, what would bother you so bad about that subject? Like, why would that bother you? Is it breaking down your reality? I don't know what it does. But I do know it does. It definitely does something.
It's always bad news. It's always bad
what's
news.
What's that?
That's why it bothers them, because it's always bad news. Like when you're revealing truth to anybody, does it ever come with a flowery, happy story, or is it always how, like, you're being screwed, you're being lied to, this don't make sense? So that's why it always bothers them, is because it's always bad news. Like there's never good news to tell if you're telling people or revealing the truth to people.
Right. No. Yeah. That is true too. That's a good point. It is, and it's true. It is true. But think about it from you. Here's the thing that I always think about, like, separates like somebody like you and myself and other people, is that I've heard. Okay, so I'll give you for instance. I recently heard I won't mention the channel because I'm still watching his channel quite a bit. But there's this guy, he brings up a couple interests. He got some interesting conspiracy kind of stuff, and he does the whole trans thing, and people not being who they say they are. There are all kinds of stuff. But he's brought up something recently that I went, wow, that's interesting. That's really interesting. And again, I don't want to give out his channel because I don't want to promote something that may be kind of weird and might be steering people in the wrong direction. But
yeah, that's fine.
He brought up a subject in this realm of conversations that we're having, and it's along the line of conspiracy stuff. Now, as much as I've contemplated stuff, I've even gone at this point, I've gone, I don't know about that. That's a little too far-fetched. I mean, that's kind of crazy. And maybe it is, right? But here's the big difference, though. And somebody like, I think, like yourself or like myself, there's a big difference. I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater and completely dismissing it, right? And going, you're just crazy, and getting mad and getting, just flaring up and going into a rage.
Yeah, it's a bizarre reaction. It's like, what do you... Yeah. So you would choose to live in a lie than to face the logical truth of the situation.
Right.
Like, what's wrong with you people?
Right. And so if you look at that component, though, you'll see that's a pretty consistent thing. People, when you bring up certain things, people they flare up, they go crazy, and you just go...
I've seen it a million times.
Yeah, you've seen it. Well, yeah, because that's, and like you always bring up the little opening on your videos, it's like, Dookie Boy realm, it's like, what the hell is wrong with you people? Like, you couldn't be slapped upside the head with this stuff and still not wake up. It's true. It's absolutely true. I mean, you again, the conspiracy theory term, it's like people are very, very familiar with that. But I will get them to start defending and start making excuses for everything as soon as you start asking certain questions. All of a sudden, it's like, well, the term conspiracy theory was like created,
even
right? To distract.
You ended up cutting off after all this stuff, but even when their arguments are hollow, they will stand by them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I hear you good now.
Yeah. Even when you're their arguments are hollow is a good point, is that you'll get them to defend, and they'll just what I like to hear, and Matt has said this in the past, it's like run the script. It's true. They run the script. You give them, they got the built-in answer, and you could be in one part of town. You could go to 100 miles away, and somebody's going to give you that same exact answer. They're just, they're literally, and you can call it programmed AI technology. I don't know. All I know is I can predict and pretty consistently see certain reactions on this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Their behavior is super predictable. Absolutely. And it's it's scripted. It's script-like. It's like, well, I just asked Bob, Phil, Derek, and Mike the same things, and all of them reacted the same way. Which one of you motherfuckers are an actual individual? It's like you all are scripted the same way that them motherfuckers were. So yeah, it does sort of put this this is they are NPCs type of thought. It more solidifies their NPCs type of thought. It really does, because when you see the scripted behavior of what people would refer to as the NPC, it's unquestionably stupid. It's like, come on, how are these motherfuckers this fucking ridiculously not critical thinkers, not deep thinkers, not interested in deep thoughts, all have the exact same response?
Right.
Are any of these people individuals? So it really does solidify the NPC argument, and that really solidifies it too, honestly, because it's like, how do they know that script? Did Paul, Dale, Mike, and Ernest, or whatever fucker names I use, did they all talk to each other before we had this conversation and agree to have the same reaction? Yeah, it doesn't add up when you analyze it more deeply.
Yeah, no. It's when you look at it and you just go, it's like that's why I say I lean towards that term. I know people don't like it. Yeah, I've had struggled.
It's a great go-to word. It is. It's a great go-to word to be. How else can we describe them? A soulless vessel. Like I don't even. That sounds much worse, honestly, than NPC.
Yeah. I like backdrop. I mean, that sounds good to me. It's like, yeah, backdrop. I've heard that term before. Backdrop people. Organic portals, that's a good one. I mean, all of that stuff, it all fits. It all, it's like, and they're in some way they're synonymous. They're just different ways of approaching it. They all make sense. I mean, if you take the characteristics of them, they all make sense. It's you just go, yeah, it's undeniable. I mean, it's so predictable. It's so predictable. I mean, I can guarantee right now, I go down the street and I say, I'm going to just randomly, I'm going to pop in somewhere. I'm just going to, just grab a drink, sit next to somebody, and I'm just going to start having some conversations with them. And I'm going to just throw some stuff out there. Well, guess what? I know what's going to happen. I've seen it happen over and over again, and I know if I don't, and I know if I don't bring certain things up, right? I mean, I've done that too. It's like, spend a significant amount of time never talking about any conspiracy stuff, anything in the realm, never bringing up any questions, right? Never bringing up like, don't you think that's weird? Or don't you think, and you will find it won't even be mentioned. It won't ever be brought up. I mean, go back a few years ago. You look at, and not one person, I used to sit there and just watch, just observe, and go, I guarantee not one person, not one of these people is going to question anything about. They might question certain things, but it's only going to go so far. That question's only going to go so far. And that question's it's really only going to circle back around to solidifying the reality, solidifying that what this is valid, or this is true. What it's ultimately going to do is going to circle back around, and it's going to come right back to saying, yeah, this thing is real, this thing is true. And so you can look, and you can sit around, you can watch it, and you can go, not one person will ever bring any of this stuff up. They'll never talk about it. They'll never be curious about it. They have zero curiosity. And that's the other thing too. There's certain characteristics that you can look at and you can go, okay, so we've seen this over and over, check. 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 And go down the list. You got the, handful, 2 handfuls of characteristics that you can count on. You go, yep, always, every single time. No curiosity. That's always a big sign. Always a big sign. Because you just go, they just don't have the capacity to have any curiosity. They'll look at something very bizarre, right, and think it's completely normal. It's like, you think that that's normal? Like, that makes sense to you? Mm-hmm. Like, that thing just completely, that story makes sense to you? Like, you don't think anything's wrong with that? What do you mean? Huh? No.
No. It's every day of my life I see 2 planes bring down 3 buildings. Right. Like, bro, what right. Fucking dimension are you from, you bozo show clown ass thinking little stupid minded boy? I really don't understand it. NPC is a great go-to argument because it's like, well, how silly, how Wally World do we gotta get for you to wake up to what's fucking happening? Doesn't make sense logically in a normal thinking brain. And they really are they, dude? I don't think that they're. Okay, well, I'll tell you what I think that they are. I think that they're illusions projected by the thing to create frustration in us. I mean, I think that that's what they are, and that makes this thing extremely evil. Because what if you were friends with one of them for multiple years and they were just used to feed off of you to ultimately break the friendship off when you brought up something deep? They would make the thing a lot more evil. The thing, whatever the thing is, I'm pretty sure this thing's really fucking evil. But
well, that's actually happened. I've actually seen that happen. I'll give you for instance. Because you're bringing up something that's just a great point. It's a great observation. So I'm going to go, I don't know, 10 years ago or so. And at this point, back then, maybe a little bit longer, but let's stick with the 10-year mark. So talking to this guy that I was pretty decent friends with. I didn't know him all my life, but I met him at some point, worked with him, and we became good friends. I'd go out and go have some beers with him, go over to his house and listen to some metal music and drink some beers and smoke and do all that kind of stuff and hang out and have a good time. So him and I were kind of on the same political kind of stuff, like the political stuff. We just thought stuff that was political is just craziness and just absolute nonsense, right? He was kind of on that page. And then at one point, I remember I was talking to him, and it was at a point in my experience where I started like really, really going, wait a second, man, like if they wanted to fix this stuff, they could. Easily, right? I started just going down that road, and I started really, really thinking about it. And then I started really just hammering like myself. I'm like, so every time I hear something, I'm like, why you're acting like this can't be fixed, right? I hear some guy on the radio, you're acting like this can't be fixed. I start feeling frustrated, right? I'm like, can't stand these people, and they never ask questions, and blah, 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 blah. And so I'm having a conversation with him one day, and the political thing comes up, and I say, hey, I'm like, I'm sorry, man. I'm like, this stuff, just none of it's making sense to me anymore. I'm like, if they wanted this stuff fixed, dude, they could have fixed this a long time ago. You're telling me they can't, right? And I just started going off, and not on him, but just like the whole script, the narrative, and I'm like, just none of it makes sense, dude, right? And I'm just in a different place. I don't know what, and I definitely don't have anybody to talk to. I've never come across you.
You said none of it makes sense, and I'm gonna just.
Yeah, so none of it makes sense, and I have nobody. I've not heard one. This is before my YouTube days, and hearing anybody that is even close to thinking the same way, right? Mm. And I remember he stopped the conversation, and he was like, oh, well, anyway, so what else has been going on, right? He just like literally stops the conversation. Now, He never, ever once brought it up ever again. Not once. And we had talked several times.
And he never will.
And he never will.
He probably don't even remember it, to be honest. If you brought it up to me, he'd say, what do you mean?
Right. Well, but keep in mind, this is somebody that we had many. It was so bizarre to me because I waited too because it was so strange that he stopped talking to me at the time. And again, at the time, I didn't know what was going on. All I knew was I'm like, that's weird. I'm like, he just like literally stopped talking about it and then moved on to a completely different subject. And then I started observing our interactions after that. And he never brought up politics ever again to me. Never even went down that road. Completely steered away from it, even when I brought up stuff. And this was somebody that was very, very interested in it. Now, when I look back and I go, that's interesting. That's really weird. So when I was flaring up and I was like, mad about the situations and looking around what's going on. And I was just kind of, buying into some of it. And how could this be possible? And then when I get to a point where I'm like, wait a second, none of this makes any sense. Like none of this makes any sense at all. Like these things can be fixed and somehow they're not being fixed. And somehow, people aren't asking questions, right? And he just turns off the switch. And never brings it up again. Literally never brings it up again. And I just and it was such a defining like thing that I noticed it and I kept watching to see if he would ever bring it up again. Guess what? Never again. Never again.
Mm. I've actually had a situation where I went to apologize to a person that I brought something up that made them uncomfortable and they pretended that it didn't happen. Like, what do you mean you're sorry? For what? And I would explain the situation that happened to them. Like, when I brought that up, you seemed to get frustrated about it the other day. And, I just want to apologize. I wasn't trying I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I've literally seen them forget it, too. Yes, it happens all the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, totally. No, that's... So, anyway, I mean, what it is, what it is exactly... Again, I'm not sure there's the perfect label for it, but I do know you can observe it, you can see it, you can go, you can almost guarantee like certain things. And as a matter of fact, I have, but it's so predictable. That's the one thing about it is like it's very, very predictable at times.
Mm. There's a pattern behavior behind it.
Yeah,
it's not random. Totally. It's not random. You can predict its behavior and its pattern. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Every single time. And you look at the comments. I mean, over the last 4 or 5 years, looking at comments and looking at people, what the things that they've said and the things that they've experienced the same thing. And I go, yeah, dude, this is pretty much it. I mean, it's like if you want truth. Right. So in one of the things that you said and that I've liked because many years ago I started realizing this, it's like, dude, any subject you bring up, there's just rabbit hole after rabbit hole after rabbit hole and they never lead anywhere and there's never any conclusion. There's always like this bizarre stuff, but it's like not with this.
You're always on the quest for truth, but never actually finding the truth. Yeah, I know.
Right, exactly. But with this, guess what? With this, you can nail this one down. You can go, hey, we've been able to observe this thing. We've been able to see, predict patterns, be able to see behaviors, and go, hey, this is you want some truth about something. Well, here's something. Here's something you don't have to go down too many rabbit holes to see it. Mm-hmm. If you can see it, it's there. You know what I mean? And the rabbit hole is not that deep. It's right in front of your face.
It's observable. That's, I guess, sort of, to a degree, that's what gives me the confidence to say a lot of the crazy shit that I say is that, well, hey, if you really want to fucking challenge me on this, you might go crazy in the process. It might drive you insane, but, hey, go and check it out for your damn self. And honestly, I think that the ones that would be watching my channel anyways, I don't know if they would even be the type to question any of that. I think that everybody that watches, I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe there's a lot of other people or things that watch my channel, but I would think that people that watch my channel are pretty conscious. I don't think we would have any NPCs over here. But I don't think that, I think that NPCs are the majority. Like, to be honest, I think that the majority of people are like what you would call backup people, and it's all an illusion or simulation to create conflict to internally to soul creatures to then feed off them in some way. And whether that feeding is loose, whether that feeding is literally just for sadistic entertainment purposes, it's still feeding off of us and constantly creating loose negativity in our minds, hearts, souls, and existence. And I think that this thing whispers in all of our ears, not just the evil elite. I think it whispers in the bad guys' ears the same way it whispers in the good guys' ears. It doesn't matter if you're a good guy or a bad guy, because what matters is that you're being fed off of by it. And that's the ultimate goal of it. That seems to be my sort of ultimate conclusion so far as to what's going on here. And if you start looking, I will say this too, though, if you start looking at the reality as there's a mind virus that works through people, even people I love, people close to me, that sort of does these pattern behaviors. It can change your worldview into a very scary place to live. And that's the main reason why most people wouldn't jump headfirst into the truth, because they're always jumping headfirst into a pool full of fucking diarrhea.
Right. Yeah. No. What I think separates somebody like myself and yourself from your average, if you want to call them normie or backdrop or NPC, what separates the differences. And this goes way back, at least for me, and I think probably for you too. I think you've mentioned it a couple times. But what separates the fact is like I said about this guy that I've been listening to his channel recently, and he's brought up something really kind of bizarre. It's like it's a conspiracy, definitely a conspiracy theory kind of stuff. But guess what? I'm not doing. I'm not flaring up. I'm not throwing it out the window. I've asked questions. He hasn't responded to me, but I've tried to ask him some questions. Hopefully he will at some point. And I'm trying to say, hey, you know what? He might see something. He might, because I've had over the years. Again, what separates somebody like ourselves is you've probably over the years, when you first were introduced to something, probably heard something you thought, that's kind of weird, that's kind of crazy, but you start thinking about it. Started tooling around with it, right? You're contemplating it, and then at some point you're going, yeah, you know what? That doesn't make any sense at all, right? And you start going down that road. They don't have the ability to do that.
Yeah, there's a weird
and not only do they
disconnect
not
from
have the
critical
ability.
thinking.
What's that?
They have a weird disconnect from critical thinking. Like, they can't critically think.
Right.
Or no, that's
right.
Actually, that's not true either, because they can. I mean, my goodness, if we're talking about quantum mechanics to some fucking bozo, he can critically think, but
no. So there's two things in that realm. I would say they're far more advanced than I am. So I'll give you a good example. And I've used this with a couple people that I've talked to. Is that if you were to, and I've seen literally. I've been in like groups of people, like a classroom, right? And then a trivia game is introduced, and the instructor wants to do, let's do a trivia game, and they're all excited. And I'm sitting there going, shit, I don't know how to, I don't know the answer to this. And I mean, all of them, every single one of them. Maybe the shy guy in the back doesn't care and he's thinking about his girlfriend, right, or not really paying attention. But for the most part, all of them are rattling off these answers, and they're just quick with this stuff. And I'm like, how do you people know all this stuff? Mm-hmm. How do you what are you doing that you're even paying attention to these things? These like weird facts about like TV shows and movies and actors and like whatever it might be, or just obscure just like subjects. And I go, hey, you know what? When it comes to that stuff, like the quantum mechanics stuff, or the NASA dude sitting on the computer, right? These people are don't think of them as stupid or gone in that sense where they can't do that kind of stuff, or mechanically they're very, very inclined, they're very good, they can deconstruct stuff very good, they can come across very, very intelligent in
They can
those
definitely
kind of
critically
things.
think, but they can't critically think about certain subjects.
Right.
That makes no
Right.
sense. But that's what
Right.
we
Right.
see happen all the time.
Right. That's what we see happen all the time. So yes, they can critically think in some respect when you're talking to, well, here it is. You're talking about things in this realm. They've got it down. They're very, very good.
Yeah.
They're very good at it.
Yeah, you're
They
right.
can,
They'd be great at trivia. They could talk about some football. They could talk about, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you ask them anything deeply, any deep question related to what do you think this is? Why are we here? What goes on after? What? All of a sudden their brain wants to shut off. It's an interesting phenomenon.
Yeah, well, and again, very observable. It's very consistent. I mean, you can count on it. You don't have to. There's.
Easily
It's one of those
predictable, yeah.
things. It's one of those things you don't have to like. It's not kind of one of those things at this point, at least from where I am. Like I don't have to scratch my head and go, huh. I wonder if that's true. It's like, no, I've seen it happen so many times at this point that I just go, this is reality. I mean, that's reality. That's the truth. That if you want truth, that's truth. There you go. There's some truth.
Mm-hmm.
If you want something observable and you don't have to go down a deep rabbit hole trying to figure this out and go and figuring, who did this and what did this and, who caused it and blah, 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 never coming to any conclusions. I'm not going to waste my time doing that kind of stuff because I know what the purpose of it is, right? I know what the purpose of it is. And even in that stuff, here's what you have to do with all the rabbit hole stuff. And what we've talked about tonight is like, all you have to do with all the rabbit hole stuff is all you have to do is start asking good questions. That's it. Mm-hmm. And it starts to break down. And you start to go, like the simplest thing of like, hey, well, where does that fuel come from? And once you start going from there, you just go, yeah, you know what? Well, here we go again. It's just not making sense. Now,
yeah, and dude, honestly, think about the question that you're posing. You're not asking the most complicated, deep, what temperature can the shield on the modulator program run at before it melts? Like, you're asking them the dumbest, simplest shit that a fucking one-eyed 2-year-old would think to ask if it was going to start breaking down the subject, and they can't get past point A. We haven't gotten to point, J, Y, Z. We've gotten to point A, and they can't answer that question. Where does the fuel for these things come from? Well, you didn't ask them, again, you didn't ask them some crazy, complicated, fucking hard question. You asked them a first grade question, and they still couldn't answer it.
Right. No, they can't. Now, you give them a good trivia question, they're all over that shit.
Oh, yeah.
All over.
Yeah, they'll tell you who won the Super Bowl last year and da-da-da.
Yeah, and somehow they all know it too. It's like so all of you have the same like interest, really, because you don't really look like you do, and like you're not interacting like the same way, but it's like somehow you all just kind of know this information. It's just all common knowledge for you. And I'm, when it comes to that stuff, I'm just completely lost. I'm not completely, but
a blessing in disguise in this reality. That's a good thing that you don't know trivia in this fucking retardo realm.
Yeah. I just don't. I'm just not. I could care less too. It's not. It's like I have no inkling, zero like interest in learning any of that stuff. It's just, but it's a characteristic that you can look at and you can go, hey, if you want to see them perform very, very well, and you want to see their knowledge and how quick they can be and how knowledgeable they can be, want to bring it up, just do a little trivia, throw a little easy game out there. They love that. They'll eat it up all day long, play it, never get tired of it. It's like, yeah, they love that stuff, dude. They love it. Love it.
Yeah, amen. They bask in it. But I agree. There's definitely a huge difference between us and them. I don't know what it is inside of them that doesn't make them question anything more deeply or more seriously. But there's definitely a huge difference between us. And yeah, but what I guess the best point to make for what I think you're arguing would be, and from my opinion, would be the fact that their responses are all sort of scripted, script-like. That is a great argument to say that something more deeply is going on. I personally think it's the mind virus. I think it takes them over to a degree. They may think that it's them. They're on autopilot. When you ask questions like that, it leads to deeper conversations, and I don't think it wants you to have deep conversations. I don't think it wants channels like mine. I don't think it, whatever it is, just wants anybody knowing the truth. But I do think it works through humans. So I think, again, well, it does have scripted behaviors, actually. That is something, I don't know if you checked out Dr. Marcinski or like the Voices of Schizophrenics or any of that, but according to them, it does have a sort of scripted type behavior, so that would actually make sense to the mind virus also being the Voices of Schizophrenics here. It does seem very script-like. It has the same pattern behavior. So I think that what you're seeing when you see the mind shut off is that happening real time. You're seeing the mind virus happen real time. That's my personal opinion.
Well, I think here's the thing. So I don't know what it was. I don't know if I got it. I don't know if I got it from you recommending it or what somebody recommended it, but maybe it even just popped up on YouTube. I just don't remember. But somebody shared a video and a link or something. It might have even been in your comment section. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter. But it was on the schizophrenia thing, right? And so it was this dude, and he's talking about this doctor. So they're interviewing this doctor. This dude is interviewing this doctor, and this doctor that specifically worked on, schizophrenics, and did, I don't know, his internship. But he was just, that was his practice. Anyway, so he's like, he comes to a conclusion. Basically, the doctors did is that he's like, it's a spiritual thing, and he's like, and he goes down years and years of experiences and some really bizarre stuff that he says, right? And stuff that it's not that you haven't heard this stuff before, but it's like a doctor explaining from his perspective, and you're like, wow, dude, like that's crazy stuff. But all to say, at the end of the day, it's just to confirm, validate what you were saying earlier about, and if you want to call it mind virus, whatever. So what he said was, he said over and over again, he's just like, it's always just negative stuff. It's always just like, it's never anything good.
Yep.
It's
never.
Always like, it's never. It's like, not one of these people is ever being told, like, you're just a wonderful person, like, you can do anything you want in this world.
That's just a microscopic thing of the macro. Like, if you look in actual reality, it also never presents any good news, anything nice. It's always negative. I think that this experience is to suffer the individual. Like, ultimately, that's the end result. Like, we could say, oh, but God created us, or we could say, oh, but no, but really it's like, okay, but the final observable result is the entity experiencer being suffering, whether it's from internal conflict created by differences from the sexes, differences from the race, whatever. It just doesn't even matter.
Right.
It's all that matters is that we suffer.
Right. Well, that's you're again, the thing that, and I've said it a couple times in your comments, that the thing that I attribute, one of the greatest things that you ever said was the conflict realm.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the best. That is one of the best things, to describe what I've heard, resonated with me more than like so many other things. Was the fact that you said that, and again, I attribute that to you because it was so good. It was so powerful because it was again, something I knew, but I didn't really have the words. I wasn't really articulating it that way. But when you did, and you started to articulate, and you said it's the conflict realm, I started thinking about it, just like really pondering and going, when I think about it, when I really just start breaking it down, what does it all do? And again, going back, you mentioned a couple times the purpose of the NPC. Well, what does it do? What do they do? What do they do? They cause conflict, right? Because you're trying to bring something up to them and you feel crazy, right? You just feel like, you're like, how do you not see it? How do you fucking not see it? What is wrong with you? Right? You're just like, and you feel the conflict. You feel the internal like struggle because you're just like, this is just not possible, right? And you're frustrated. Now here's the other thing. One thing you'll see about them, they don't get frustrated with that stuff. They don't get they're one of the things you'll see over and over again. They're not really too bothered by that stuff at all. At all. As a matter of fact, for the most part, they're kind of calm, cool, and collected if you really, really start observing it. And start watching it. You'll see. You know, they're like, if you, so for instance, I've seen you a couple times on camera, and I've made a couple comments because I've seen you break down. And I said, I'm the same exact way. I will break down, I will cry, I will grieve, I'll come to tears because I'll start thinking about stuff and I'm just like, it breaks my heart, right? I have emotion. You'll never, ever, ever see them do that. Never. You can show them bizarre stuff and they just will sit there stone cold and just go, yeah, well, it's weird. Move on. Carry on. You're like, what the hell?
I would say if they are NPCs, then they're part of the program. So yeah, it would be their job to behave that way because the program wants that to be your norm too. To you to just be this robot to shut the fuck up, get up and create more loot and go to work and blah blah. So yeah, I think that they're sort of projections of the thing. Again, I know this gets crazy, but and they are doing a good job, we'll say. They're doing a good job.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. A very extremely good job. Yeah, no, it's and to your point, I think you're hitting on it like right on the head. I think what the purpose that they serve is to solidify, right? Because when you're looking around, you're going, like, again, going back, it's like, how does a freaking 2 buildings just collapse, right? And you're going down that road and you're like, how do you not freaking see it? And they're like, well, it perfectly makes sense. And they're calm, right? And they're just like, and you're like, you don't see any, and what are you doing? You're like, how do you not freaking see, you know? And you're just conflicted inside and they're playing their role and you're going, you know, when you step back and you're able to observe what's happening, which I think is a big key to, you know, to getting to a point where you have to be able to recognize it. You know, you have to be able to recognize it. And, you know, I don't think a lot of people do. Even in this community, I don't think a lot of people do. I think they're, you know, some people are getting there. But some people
that the true community's getting there. I don't think that I would agree with that. Yeah, they're getting there, but no, they're not there yet.
No, there are a lot of people just don't see that. Yeah, big time. So, I mean, you know, I don't know. I'm glad, and thank you finally for like being able to, you know, have a conversation, because I know we've been trying to do this for some time and just things come up, and I totally get, you know, things come up. But one of the things, again, going back to like one of the things I love about your channel and things I love about what you do is the comments reply. You know, I just think that's like one of the best ways to interact with people that, you know, watch your channel. Mm-hmm. And you do a good job of reading through them, and you respond to people, and, you know, sometimes you're just, you know, you're as straightforward as possible, and, you know, you tell people how it is. If you don't agree with it, you don't agree with it, but you don't shy away from that stuff, which is, you know, which again, if, you know, here's, you know, there's people I like and I listen to that refuse to do that, and it makes me go, what's wrong with them that they won't interact with people? What's wrong with, like, you know? And then you start.
They are also being influenced by the mind virus. So my answer would be, what's wrong with them? It's as simple as, and I know from experience, again, now that I've been observing, it'll be like Well, I do want to talk about that, but then there's a thought that goes, well, no, don't say that. That's crazy. Or no, don't say that you're not sure about that yet. And it's just this sort of subconscious voice we all participate with, deal with on a daily basis. I've learned to say, shut the fuck up to that thing. I'm going to speak the truth no matter what. And not even completely. I still struggle. Like just earlier in this video, actually, I was going to talk about, or maybe a video I was making, or maybe a video I'm making attached to this. There was a subject that I questioned in my own mind not to talk. No, that's a little too creepy. You don't want to sit. It's like, but that's not me. Who is that? So I think that they're contending with this mind virus. They may think it's them, but when you're on autopilot, it does appear to be you, but it's not them. They allowed the subconscious. They live through the lives of imaginary people in their minds, I would say.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a good point because I've had those times too. So I've talked to people, and I've seen it happen real time with me. I've talked to people, right, and I've been bringing up certain things, and you can tell, like you get that sense, right, that just something's not right, some dark, right? I don't know what it is, the mind virus, right? It's just like, it's dark, it doesn't feel, or something feels really off.
Oh, you can feel the chemistry for sure, yeah.
Yeah, you just feel it, like it's just like something's real off, and you're just like, all right, I'm not going to talk. It's like, even myself, and it's like, and I won't say that I don't do the same thing. There's times where I'm like, you know what, I'm not gonna go there right now. I'm just, I'm just not gonna go there right now. But most of the time, what's that?
You know the common result anyways, and it's scripted. So it almost seems like a waste of time to be at this point. I mean, how many times do you have to try to convince somebody of anything and watch their brain shut off before you go, okay, I'm sick of doing that dumb shit.
Well, yeah, no, absolutely. No,
Yeah.
that's why I don't, to be honest, I don't even, I mean, I've talked about like experimenting with these things, but I've already done it. I don't do that anymore because I don't need to do that anymore. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, anytime, like for instance, I'll give you once in a great while, like for instance, I'll give you, like when I mentioned the thing about the fuel thing earlier, and I happened to run into this mechanic, this airline mechanic or aircraft mechanic, and I asked him that question. I didn't need to necessarily I didn't need to get his response because I knew his response was going to be something that didn't make sense. I knew he wasn't going to be able to tell me.
Predictable, yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like I knew he was just going to, I didn't know what it was going to be exactly, but I knew it was going to come back with something like, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of weird.
You knew you weren't going to walk away with the answers.
Right. He wasn't going to be like, well, they do this and they truck it in from here, and actually the fuel goes right here, which they don't really tell you and give you the like some like solid answer, right? He's like, yeah, and it was funny is like I started bringing up other stuff, and I'm like, yeah, there's it's just things that don't make sense, and he just veers off into another conversation. I'm like, it's so predictable. It's like, again, I don't need to do it anymore, and I don't do it that much anymore because it's like at this point, I already know what it's going to yield. I already know where it's going to go. I already know exactly what I'm going to get out of it, and to be honest, it's like I would rather in those situations just talk about sports and football so I can talk to people sometimes.
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
go shoot some pool and go have a beer with somebody and just be able to hang out. Because if I don't do that, it's like I'm going to be completely isolated.
In the universe all of your own.
Yeah, I'm just going to be completely, I'm going to be completely isolated. I'm not going to have anybody talk to. I'm going to ruin all my, somewhat friendships. It's like, and which I've done. And a lot of, not that I've ruined them, but, me trying to communicate with people, I mean, can't tell you how many people at this point that I can go down the list and go, yeah, I don't talk to them anymore, I don't talk to them anymore, I don't talk to them anymore. And I wasn't consciously doing it, but I was just being honest with myself at the time and asking questions and going, how does this make sense? And I wasn't attacking anybody, but they just literally just wrote me off.
Mm-hmm.
They literally just wrote me out of their life, and they don't want to talk to me anymore. And they said, and at the time, I was very bothered by it. I didn't get it, but from this vantage point, knowing what I know now, or at least partially, what I partially know, I can go, yeah, you know what? Neither here nor there. I know what it is, and I know why. I can predict it, and I just don't do it that much anymore. I'd rather have these conversations if I can, which are rare.
Yeah.
But I'd rather have these conversations and do this kind of stuff and focus on this rather than trying to go down, literally talk to a wall, like I think your introduction, it's like, what's wrong with you people? Like that for me is just, that hits it home, I'm just like, that's, yeah, dude, I'm so, if I go there, I'm just so frustrated by it, I'm just like, I can't do it. It's just too much.
I would say that's it doing a good job. That's what it does. It creates frustration in people like me and you, because how else could it have logically happened this way if it isn't a deeper thing that again feeds off the negativity, the frustration, the conflict creation, to create the frustration in us. I mean, think about, this is the type of reality you would put somebody in if you want a logical human. You would put them in if you wanted them to lose their minds. You can see an obvious evil in the realm, and when you try to expose it to others around you, they think you're crazy. So yes, it's designed very well, and it's doing a very good job.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's that's why I don't steer. It's not steering away from the AI thing, but I just go, yeah, it's much deeper than AI. It's like, at least in terms of what I think about AI. Maybe I don't think about AI as the same way as some people in this community. But for me, when I think of AI, I just think of like,
I don't think about AI
as people in this community. Like, I don't think of it the same. Like, I hear a lot of like, well, it's AI, where it's maybe it's like a program or something like that. And I go, I don't know. It just seems too far advanced for me. Like, okay, for instance, I always think of AI as like robots, right? Or something that's not really tangible in the sense of like you can interact with on you can call into a call center or something, mm-hmm. and they got their AI robots that they can, well, if you want to do this, say this, and I look at that as AI. But they only have so many options. This is a little bit different.
I always thought what they meant by that was that it's the AI of the simulation. Like, we're in a sort of simulated reality, and it's the AI that sort of runs it, like the backdrop AI that makes sure things fall at this rate, make sure this is what's whispered into our ears. It's the AI of the simulation. I always thought that that's what they meant. Well, it's AI because, until AI has a physical form to go into, like an android to attack people, it's still just a thing in a machine that's controlled by ones and zeros. It's like not a threat. Yeah, I see that argument. I think a lot of people nowadays are thinking that the whole reality is a simulation, and the AI of the simulation has lost its mind to a degree.
Well, I'll put it this way. Whatever it is, if it is AI, it's extremely intelligent, extremely advanced, and to the point where it can literally like adapt to where you are.
Yeah.
So it's like this. You and I, which you don't know, I have the vantage point because I hear you do videos and I hear you talking. But yes, I make some comments once in a while, but for the most part, you do a lot of the sharing, a lot of talking. But I can go, I'll say to you sometimes in the comment, like, same thing, man. Like, I'm dealing with the same stuff. I see the same stuff. And I go, whatever it does, right? However it's able to do it, whether it's AI, it's extremely advanced, and it's able to adapt to the point where it will do things to you that affect you that are very similar to me, right? But different circumstances, right? It affects us the same way, but it's going to be different circumstances or different people. Like, for instance, like your group of people. Well, the people that you hang around with, the people that you're involved with, your little group of people you work with, everything like that. So same thing for me. My little group of people, the people, my sphere of influence and all that stuff. I can go around and it can adapt to me. And I can see it's like, it will do like really bizarre things. Like I will have a thought, I can think about something, or like something will affect me. Like I can have like a thought, and then 10 days or, a day later, the next day I come across something that, is there. Somebody will say, let's just say somebody says something. Here, I'll give you a good one. I said, let's just say I say a phrase. Let's just say I go, man, that's awesome. Let's just say I said that to somebody, and it happened to be at a time I was in a store, and I was like, hey, man, that's awesome. And I said it in a certain way, right? Mm-hmm. Then the next day, and maybe a couple days even after that, and maybe, a little time after that, somebody bizarrely will be in my realm, or wherever I am at the time. They're like, hey man, it's awesome, right? They'll just say it the same way I did it, right? They're just that bizarre behavior, bizarre like situations. What do they call them?
Synchronicities.
Synchronicities, yeah, synchronicities. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. And it's like, it's to the point that, that stuff, and I've had just periods of time where that stuff is just so out of control, that you just like, dude, this, like, I'm sorry. If I said anything, nobody would know, but I'm like, I'm sorry, this is just way, way too beyond coincidence, just to be like some like coincidence. It's like, it's just too tailored, too involved, too, like, it's just way too in your face. Like, it's like nobody would.
You know what? Nobody would. I don't mean to cut you off, one of you, but this is something actually I realized recently too. The synchronicities not only. Okay, well, first off, I want to say I think that the synchronicities are it when I refer to the mind virus, the thing of this reality that controls everything. It has revealed its power to me through synchronicities, and it's extremely powerful. Like, I do want to get that out of the way. Like, again, because I talk so much down to it, and I am going to have to take a quick break right after this as well. But I talk so down, it's such a little pathetic. It's because there is this sort of like, once you become aware of it, it has no power thing going on, this paradoxical thing. But don't get it twisted. Like, when I say, I'm not saying that this thing has so much power that if it showed you its power, it would make you uncomfortable. I'm pretty sure that's happened to you as well. I do have to cut off for 1 sec, take a quick restroom break. I'll be right back after this.
Yep.
One of you, I wanted to thank you for coming on and talking to me. I've enjoyed the conversation so far. And yeah, I agree that we do need to have more conversations like this. There's not enough people even talking about this kind of shit. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's, I don't know. Appreciate you, taking the time to do it. Like I said, I've been trying to have a conversation with you for some time, and like anything else, things come up, get in the way. There's a lot of stuff going on, but
yeah, dude. On my end, honestly, dude, some days I wish I fucking just would I should put a GoPro on and just follow me around to show people what I mean. Because to be honest, I don't have the best short-term memory, and I can't remember everything that happens. But when I'm in the moment, it's like, man, this one thing after another, after another, after another, after another, and actually, it went from one thing to another, and I found myself in my kitchen doing the dishes, and I'm like, okay, enough's enough. Like, what is like causing me to not talk to this dude? I need to go and talk to this dude. To me, that's the way I see it now. It's like, if there are obstacles putting themselves up, it almost reveals itself as the thing. So, yeah, I felt, I sort of realized it earlier, and it sort of was just like, felt super obligated. I was like, I need to go and talk to this dude, you know what I'm saying? But I'm glad we had the conversation.
I get it. I totally get it. been there over and over and over again. You know what I mean? It's like, it goes like this. It's like one of the things that you said. Again, there's been several things, but one of the things that you've said is that, it's like, why can't we get together? Why can't we, do something, like, even like if it's just, getting together? And I go, well, it's a great question. It's like, and therefore, I try to, like, okay, let's have a call. Let's chat a little bit. Let's talk through this stuff. You got an idea or you got something you're working through. Let's talk it through, like.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, too, also, I'm also down to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact,
yeah.
I'm even more willing to talk to people that disagree with me than people that do agree with me, because I feel like I'm more likely to come to a better conclusion if we ponder the thought from both directions. So I'm open to talk to anyone. The only downside, well, the only thing is, honestly, it's just life. Like, people say, oh, I'm busy at work. I got work, every day this week. But it's life, just period, that can become the obstacle to prevent these conversations from happening to a degree. But I think if we just fucking bite our lips and get through it, we can make shit like this happen. Again, like I said, for me, it was a quick realization earlier. It was like, okay, enough's enough. Fuck this. I'm going to go email, see what's going on with the dude, get Discord back on my shit, have the conversation, blah, blah, blah. And that's the way we all should feel. It's like, if there are obstacles preventing, especially if you're trying to tell the truth to people, know that that's it. That is it, working real time. So I'd say fuck it and its mama, and do everything you can to stab it in its neck. That's how I feel.
Well, it's like, it goes like this. So, for me, I've been watching your channel now, I don't know, for a couple good years, I feel like, at this point. And, I've commented several times, not on every video, but I commented several times. And, you've responded and you interacted again, which extremely rare and very much appreciated.
I don't know why. That should be super common. It's like the best thing to do.
I know.
Well, I guess people do live. Maybe if I did lives, but that is how you communicate lively or whatever.
Well, yeah, no.
I just don't have time to do them, man.
No, I honestly, I don't know. Honestly, I think it's a little bit better than live, because in a live kind of situation, sometimes you don't get a chance to really ponder what the question is, right? You don't get a chance to, like, sit back and go. But with what you do, the comment reply thing, it's like, I don't understand, again, things that, like, break down to me, things that, like, start making me ask questions and go, why? Like somebody like Matt, I don't know why after all these years he doesn't do live streams. He barely answers emails, which by the way, he does answer emails. So he has, responded to me. And he does answer emails, but he never, like, really interacts. And okay, neither here nor there, right? Neither here nor there. But he's got a pretty big channel. A couple other people too. They got pretty big channels. They've got lots of comments, lots of really good comments. And I go, how hard is it just to, like, do a comment reply? Like, Chris does them all the time. Like, well, you'll put out a video that's not a comment reply. You'll just do a little rant, and then people will respond to it, and then you'll follow up with a comment reply, which is
I'm getting
fantastic.
ready to make one, actually, either later on, or I'm probably going to make one tomorrow, actually.
Yeah, no, yeah. No, which is awesome, because, I mean, I just feel like it's such a good way to interact, and you've been pretty consistent with, like, if I put a comment on there, I can, you might not get, and the other thing too is, I realize, is sometimes I've had to be more clear with my comments, because you've responded back to me and you said, I'm not really sure what you mean by that, or or you have, sometimes you do get.
I feel obligated to. I feel like if it doesn't make complete sense to me in my mind when I read it, then I'm either going to give the wrong answer anyways, or I'm going to come off disingenuous. It's like, if I don't understand, it's like, man, I don't understand this shit. Actually, I don't know why I don't see more people so willing, like I am, to admit if they're not perfect or right. Like, I don't know the answer to this question. I mean, people don't have the ability to do that either. It's bizarre.
Yeah. No, that's, well, again, it's something that really, really, really separates your channel and the thing that you do. And I don't understand, because it's such a great, and even before I discovered your channel, I would always think, like, why aren't people just responding to comments? Like, why isn't this dude in our community, which is he's a cool dude, and I'm like, why doesn't he just address his comments? Like, there's some really, really, really good comments here, and he could have content for months just based on his comments that he gets, and why he doesn't ever talk about him, why he doesn't ever bring him up, why he's not like, hey, I saw this comment on my video and I decided to address it live, like you know. It's, again, I neither here nor there. I guess people, you know, and here's what I do at this point. I never tell people, you know, what to do with their channel, because I know they're going to come back and be like, this is my channel, and you know, I'm going to run it the way I do want to run it. And then I'm like, hey, fair enough. It is your channel. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm just trying to give you a little tip here and say, hey, comment reply is like a pretty cool thing. It's
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's, you would think well, for me, it was very obvious or common, or like common knowledge to do it. It just made the most sense to me. That's why I started doing them, because I would go through comments and I would type out a response, and I would see like great comments, and I would be like, dude, this is a great fuck comment. Like, this would make a great video. So I was like, I'm gonna start reading these motherfuckers out loud. Like, of course, I've had issues with like weirdos or whatever. Yeah, it's like stupid people that do stupid shit. I've had those issues in comments too. But you know, you can't get away from the human thing. At the end of the day, like, we have to work with it. It's always gonna be there. But yeah, it is a go-to thing for anyone trying to stand by just being a genuine truther. Like, it's an obvious thing to do.
Yeah, I think so. It's, again, you know, I've said it several times, but one of the things I always loved about your channel, you know, it's ever since I first discovered it, and it's like, I don't remember who recommended it to me, but I just know, like, I'm like, yeah, this is cool. This is the way you should be interacting with people. It's a great way to interact with people. I mean, you know, if you don't want to do lives, if you can't do lives, you maybe don't have the technology to do them, which is, that's fine too. But an alternative to lives, which from my perspective is a better option, is do comment replies. I mean, I don't know why that concept just doesn't hit people, but for whatever reason, doesn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's what makes it especially odd for, also, now I'm thinking about it, is it's super convenient to the content creator, because I don't know, honestly, like right now, I could still potentially work tomorrow. I'm pretty sure I don't have work tomorrow, but I still could. I still could get a text. It could change. If I'd scheduled a live, I'm fucked. If I'm doing a comment reply video, it's on my time. Like, it's when I have the hour or two off that I know ain't nothing fucking with me now. So it's also super convenient too, which again makes it a little odd that most people don't do that. But maybe, I think in Matt's case, because he's got like a much bigger channel, maybe he's dealt with a lot more like creepy boy shit than I have, and he just, I don't know. Again, I don't know everybody's story, but yeah, I agree with you that it does seem odd that it aren't more people doing it, and I guess I do agree that it's cool that I do it. Thank you. You know, so I appreciate that. I enjoy doing them. I enjoy doing them because I'm a truth seeker, and I talk about the truth. And again, I think some of the smartest people in the world are at my channel. Why wouldn't I talk about their fucking comments? Like, unless I'm trying to be or not do my job as a truth revealer or truther, you know, just in general. But yeah, I agree. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's a great compliment.
Yeah, no, I agree too. There's just fantastic comments that I read through, and I'm just like, wow, just good stuff, you know, and I've gotten a lot from them, you know. Me too. Sometimes I'll look forward to seeing what your thoughts on them, and seeing, hey, I know he's going to mention it. I know he's going to bring it up. See what you have to say about it. Sometimes you'll.
Bro, I think I do horrible,
on
honestly. I think I do horrible a lot of times. Like, I get on and make a comment reply video, it'll be an hour and a half, and because I'm just, I don't know, in like a ranty mood, I might reply to 4 comments. I think I do a horrible job, but thank you. I do appreciate the compliment.
Well, what it's made me realize, though, here's one of the things that it's really made me realize. So when I make a comment now, if I'm gonna say anything that's like gonna have anything of substance, I almost have to do something. I almost have to do it in a way where you'll understand it, because a couple times you've replied back even to my comments. You'll reply back, and it hasn't really made sense from your perspective, and I get why it hasn't. You've read it the correct way. It's not that you didn't get what I was saying. You completely understood what I was saying.
Yeah, there just wasn't enough clarity there.
Yeah, it wasn't enough clarity, and I didn't give the context of why I said it. You just you read my comment, you replied back, and you're like, yeah, man, I don't know, and you moved on, right? Which is fine, but it made me go, well, yeah, that's not Chris's fault. That's not he's not trying to avoid my comment. My comment really, if I think about it, really didn't make a whole lot of sense in its content. I didn't give enough information. I just, and I've seen a couple times where I've gone back to them, what was I saying? That was weird.
Yeah, actually, I've learned that too, leaving comments where I would get an odd reply from, either somebody else that's also in the comments or the person that made the video. And it made me kind of realize, man, the way I asked the question or the way I typed it out. So I guess when I read comments, I do need a specific level of clarity to truly understand the question without question. I think a few times, I don't know was there any specific question that you remember that I didn't sort of answer?
No, not really. No, it wasn't. No? I don't. It was a while ago, and it was just you blew past it. But it was you read it, and you were just I don't know, man.
Yeah, I probably really didn't know.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you didn't know. Well, I know you probably did, but I went back and I read the comment. I'm like, yeah, what I said didn't really make sense.
Yeah, it happens. It happens all the time. Or somebody will say, what you said at this time really did, and they'll go on, and it's but I don't remember what I said at that time, so I have to pause the video, go watch the video at that time, and then chop up the comment reply video 1,000 times. Which, I guess I could do. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I could do that, put in the extra time and all that. But again, I am sort of hard-pressed for time. Unfortunately, I am still plugged into the Matrix. I do have to do this whole life thing that I don't, isn't all that interesting to me and all that. But, yeah, it's...
we all do.
I appreciate that, dude. I really do appreciate the compliment. I'm glad you enjoy the comment reply videos. I love making them because... Man, some of them comments, shit I never thought about, but once I think about it the way that they said it, it totally changes the way that I perceive things, totally changes the way I think. So I'm super thankful for it. That's why, actually, one of my recent videos, at the end of the video, I realized that, what I'm doing, I'm still serving at the end of the day. It's it's what I'm doing is I'm serving. But I'm super grateful for it. And that's why the title of the video was I'm happy to make this video. Thank you all, because really, what I do is, it's an honor, I guess you could say, to a degree. So, yeah, the comment reply videos make me feel like I'm connected to people too. I feel like I'm talking to real people. So yeah, it's great for all of us. Great for me too.
Well, I'll give you a good example of something that just and just doesn't make sense. And somebody you would think, right, with all the jibber jabber and talking that he does, but the guy that likes to make fun of you and likes to do that kind of...
There's one of them.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, that guy. The guy that likes to make fun of you and make videos of you and stuff like that and chop up your stuff and take it out of context. That dude, I've seen several people say, hey, you know what? Let's just have a conversation, dude. Let's just talk. What's wrong with you? Why can't you just get on the phone or whatever platform you want to use, or do a live, or just let's talk through it. Let's get, he just won't do it. He just won't do it. And There's probably, and guess what? that's one of those. That's one of those things. I go, okay, something's very, very wrong with that. Something's just, very wrong with that. There, if you wouldn't have that much of a problem. Like if I didn't agree with so there's been things that you've said that I've been like, nah, I don't know about that. But
I'm sure there's 1,000 things that I said that I would go back and go, I don't know about that anymore.
well, yeah, you might, but not. Yeah, you might, but not big deals. But guess what? I've made comments, and you haven't ran from the comments, and I brought them up, and I've even said to you, like, I remember one time I said I'm not picking on you, Chris, and then you replied back to me, and you're on your comment reply, and you said, well, you kind of are picking on me a little bit. Not you didn't. It wasn't that term, but you said something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like, you don't shy away from that stuff. Where that other individual that for whatever reason can't have a conversation and can't even reply to his comments.
Yeah, I don't. I think that was the difference between like me and the people he really annoyed is that I don't watch his content. Like I'm so uninterested. I didn't know he was still talking. Gee, how could he be? I didn't make a video for like a month. But anyways,
I don't know.
He's a bozo. But I tried to have a communication with him right in the very beginning of all that, and he was uninterested several different times on multiple different emails streams.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, he's not trying to resolve the issue. He's trying to create the issue. So for me, it was very easy to see that he was an agent. And I've had people say, oh, well, he says interesting stuff on his channel. It's like, he's an agent. Like, he's not going to be bad at it. Okay, so, but yeah, I agree with you that that's a very telling sign. Like, every single person he had an issue with was like, yeah, let's talk about that. And he ran away. So it's like, what are you doing?
I did it. Well, all I did, and I even said it on one of your comments, one of your videos a long time ago, but I was like, all I said, because he brought Matt up in one of his videos, and I said, to be fair, Matt did address what you're talking about in a video, a couple years ago, and he laid it out. He said where he worked. He said why he was on the TV show, all this stuff, right? All the stuff he was bringing up at the time. And I said, but I do have my own reservations for certain reasons, right? And he replies, he just flew off the handle at that point. It was like, didn't hear anything I had to say. He was just like, and he's like, to be fair, and whatever his little tone is. But it's like he blocks my comments, and I'm like, well, I mean, I don't know what to tell you other than obviously you, for whatever reason, it's pretty clear to me what you are. I don't, you're revealing yourself. I don't need to do anymore.
That's why I said let him talk, on your own. Man. Let him talk. Like, he's going to demonize me on his channel and say I'm a lizard or Illuminati or whatever, demon possessed. And he may even be right about some of those things, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I'm not a fuckboy, and I'm not a bitch. And if I had an issue with another man, well, first off, I would never stoop to the level of saying I'm casting curses on another man. Like, if I had an issue, I'm sorry, but if I had an issue with another man, I would probably go and deal with that dude. But I would cast curses. It's like saying he's casting curse or magic, and he actually has, like, cult member people believe in this shit and all this. But look, at the end of the day, he was a punk. The communication the avenue to communicate was open several times, and he ran away from it. So blah blah blah. At the end of the day, he's a bitch in my opinion, and I've got nothing nice to say about him. And obviously, he's got nothing nice to say about me. So as far as I'm concerned, he can go fuck himself. And the more that he speaks, the more he reveals himself. Absolutely. So time will put him in his place. Again, I don't want to curse him. I'm not trying to condemn him. I'm not trying to wish negativity on him. I actually hope that he finds peace and harmony, but he probably won't in a place like this. But it is what it is. We're different types of people. He's a fucking the type that if you disagree with him, he turns into an enraged child throwing a temper tantrum. I'm the type, if you disagree with me, well, first off, I want to know what you said. Second off, if I disagree with what you said, I'm not going to stand in that fucking field of stupidity. I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel. I'm a very straightforward, logical, honest person. And I'm pretty sure he's even still commenting on my channel. I've seen some comments left by people, and it's like, okay, here we go with this stupid shit. But I don't ban hundreds a day like I heard he does. To me, that just tells me between my channel and all the other channels he's attacking, he's got hundreds of people a day like telling him how stupid he is, and he's still just like, no, I'm right. I'm banning you, banning you, banning you, banning you. It's like, at some point, I would say the small segment of the truth community that's brainwashed by this bozo, I think will eventually come to their senses and be like, okay, this dude's just a fucking, I don't know, whatever. But it is what it is. I've sort of let go of it. Again, I can poke fun at it. I can transform into a lizard and all that stupid shit. But it is just an individual talking shit. At the end of the day, it's just some dude talking shit. So it's meaningless to me. It's just stupid shit.
Here's a good one, because and again, I'm not gonna plug the dude's channel, as a matter of fact, because recently he's gone in a weird direction. But it's a channel that...
What is he saying? I'm curious. What is his direction? What?
He's just now defending the nonsense that you see. He's making fun of conspiracy theorists now. Like, he's gone, he's like a dude that's like he was in the truther community, and he still is, right? His channel's still but now all of a sudden he's just made this weird turn, and he's like making fun of people that think about conspiracy theories. He's like the conspiracy theory, person, making fun of them, making fun of people that are questioning things. Questioning things that should be questioned, right? So he's now turned from questioning things to making fun of people that are questioning things.
So he ended up doing exactly what I predicted. I said he's going to have a good amount of truth enough on his channel to eventually pervert the truth, and that's exactly what he ended up doing, huh? Oh, what else can I predict about this agent boy that's going to be obvious? Look, at the end of the day, I have faith in those that can see through him. And those that don't, I don't think ever will have the ability to see through him. So, I guess I have, it's weird for me to say this at this point in my search for the truth. But I guess I sort of have faith in the universe that it's all going to work out. Like, I do think that there's always going to be a group of unconscious weirdos that are incapable of seeing the truth. I don't give a fuck about them. Like, I can't change them. They're going to be that way. But the ones that are conscious and logical are going to go, well, let me go look at what this dude's saying that you're saying is a lizard, but whatever, and then find out that he's a good dude and he's actually saying more truth than the original channel I was looking at. And actually, he's saying everything that douchebag's regurgitating and claiming is his, truth or whatever. But again, I can't say that for sure. I don't know if he's bitten off my theories and ideas, and I've heard people say that, so... But I don't know. Again, I don't know, and I don't give a fuck. He's a bozo, and he exposed himself as an agent bozo a long time ago. 2 days into it, I called him an agent. Like 2 days into it. So.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, it's neither here nor there. I mean, he does what he does. For whatever reason, he, I go, dude, what's your point, man? Like, what's okay? So it's like, why don't you just do videos that reveal the truth. Then? Like you say somebody like Chris is deceiving people and he's blocking. Well, demonstrate that. Demonstrate what you're talking about. But when I hear him talk, I'll hear him say I'll hear him use phrases that you use. I'll hear him say, like what? What's he say? Constantly. I'm not going to say it wasn't Dookie Boy realm. What is it? Something he says constantly. It'll come to
Mouth breathers?
Something like or toothpaste, or I don't know what it is. Toothpaste you use, something. I don't something you use. It'll come.
Yeah, someone also said that in a comment. They're like, dude, he's even saying the same things you say, and I was like, what the fuck's he saying? Like, is he saying the F word a lot?
I know what it was. I know what it is. A creepy boy. He's always like, he's always doing that. He's like creepy boy. It's like it's like I look at that. I'm like, I'm like, okay, dude, like, what's your point? Like, what's your point?
He is
this? Like, you're not,
boy.
you're not, yeah, you don't have a point. You don't, it doesn't have a point. I don't understand, like, where he's going with that. I mean, I understand, I mean, I get it if he's trying to discredit, which it apparently is. I get it if he's trying to discredit certain information and he's trying to get people to veer away from it. But he could also, if he was interested in presenting the truth, he could also do it a lot differently and say, hey, this is the reason why, and I'm going to lay out these arguments pretty thoroughly. And
Well, you mean tell the truth?
What's that?
You mean tell the truth?
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
He's not going to do that, because the truth is,
no.
He would have to say, the truth is, I'm a little fucking butthurt pussy boy that treated this dude like dog shit and then extended an olive branch of friendship to him after I ran him through the mud and threatened his job and his livelihood and all this stupid shit. And now I'm hurt because he said, no, go fuck yourself. You're a creepy boy. That's what he would have to say. And he ain't going to say the real truth. That's the real truth, though. That's what actually observably happened. This dude was commenting on my, and it's creepy looking back in hindsight. He was commenting on my channel all the time, and he was commenting from multiple different names, too. He was found out. Again, I think he's got even more, and he's commenting still on my channel. But I'm not going to sit there and ban every single person that says some shit I disagree with, because then that puts me in a weird place where I'm sort of silencing. So I leave the stupid comments. I'll even go over them, to prove that I'm being genuine. But I think it's super obvious to anybody with brains and eyes to see it what's actually going on. So I just have faith in the individual. I'm glad that you can see through it.
You made that point a while ago, and I thought, you know what, that's actually a really good approach. That's a really good. Just let him keep doing what he's doing, because people are going to recognize it. And my point was earlier. What I was going to say is somebody that was defending him, right? There was another channel defending him for a while, and for whatever reason, they've recently got into it, and he's been attacking him now. He's been going out, so it's been kind of comical to watch, because here's this one dude, he was defending him. He was coming, like, not defending him in the sense of, like, defending his, like, what he was, like, the videos that he was making about people, but saying, like, he's putting out good content, he's doing good stuff. But then at some point, I don't know what he did, but at some point he asked the wrong question or said the wrong thing. And then all of a sudden now they're at odds with each other, and it's like, it's a pattern. Dude, if you say anything, you ask the guy the wrong question.
It's such a joke to me. It's such a joke. It's such an obvious play on the things part, like the drama, and then he said that, and then he said that. At the end of the day, I proposed this to anybody that watched his channel was, just disagree with him. I said, don't disagree with him on some shit just to create conflict between the two of you. But if he says some shit is wrong, tell him you think it's wrong, and you will see that boy turn a 180 on you instantly, because he's very predictable. He reacts like a violent, emotional temper tantrum child, not like a logical. So all you have to do is pretend to be retarded and go, well, this is how I would do it if I was retarded, and you will be able to predict his behavior.
Right. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's 100%.
Yeah.
I remember saying that, and I was like, exactly it.
Yeah, just so everybody knows too, I did not bring this bozo up. One of you did, and I don't mind. I don't mind poking fun at the dude. I understand the argument of, it's best to, and I've made the argument too. I still sort of kind of do. If I didn't, I'll say this: if one of you didn't bring him up, we probably wouldn't be talking about him. But if he's brought up, I also don't have an issue slapping him around a few times. This dude is a very negative human being. He attacks a bunch of different people. He talks so much shit about me, like is obsessed with me uploading videos about me every day on his channel. It's just creepy and weird, especially if you go and watch it. Especially if you're me going and watching it, it's like super creepy, because then he's like slowing me down, like like licking my lips. I'm like, oh god, the fucking self-identifying child sniffer over here is watching me lick my lips in slow motion. Like, it's just so fucking creepy. Everything about it's creepy. Everything about it reeks of Archon entity type behavior. The boy's an agent, 10,000%, and he can go fuck himself.
I don't think it's fair. That's my problem with it is, I don't think it's fair. It's like, some people probably find it really funny and humorous, and, from reading through comments and stuff, you can see people do sometimes. So very, very few, but it's still, it's not,
shitty people being shitty people. I don't identify with these things.
Yeah.
These are like
I
low
just
level.
I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair to take you out of context. And I don't think, I think you've given plenty of opportunity to say, hey, if you're willing to talk, I'll talk with you. And that's the only reason I brought it up, because I brought it up just because it's been such a, I really don't, at this point, I don't even bother watching it too much, because it's just like, it's, again, here we go again. What am I going to watch? I'm going to watch the same stuff over and over and over again. He's not going to say anything new. He's going to do the same dumb joke. It's like, okay, you've played this out one over and over and over again.
That alone, that's an example of something I think that time will reveal. It's like, what if he's still making videos about me in 3 months from now? Which he will be. He's like never going to let go. That's what I'm saying. Like, time will kind of like show people who he really is. You were smart enough to figure it out instantly when you said, well, but then didn't they offer to talk to you? That's me having faith in your intellect. Well, you passed the test, right? So the ones that are like, yeah, he's a dumb list. Like, let's say he's taking me out of context, and he has people over there saying, yeah, he's so dumb and ugly, and blah, 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 and we're all laughing at him. To me, these are... So you came to these conclusions to pick at and make fun of another human being that you never took the time to research out, to discover for yourself if you hated this individual, and you took on the role of hatred because this dude did. To me, You're not even a truth-seeking... You're an NPC. That, to me, those things are it. The mind buyers, like, why do I address them? By addressing them, I sort of give power to them. When he is brought up, I do sort of prefer to put on a fucking lizard mask and make fun of the bozo, but this is how I really feel. I truly do genuinely believe that guy, not believe, it's obvious and observable, is here for the conflict, not the resolution of the conflict. And that was, I think that was easily observable 2 days into it, 1 day into it.
Yeah, and I think, I don't remember what it was, but I think you, well, one of the unique things too about what your approach to it, which I thought was another good thing, a good approach to it, is that you said, hey, it was, like, you watched the video and it was like kind of funny. It was like, yeah, it was kind of funny. It was, it was chopped up, it was taken out of the context, but it was funny. It was, it was humorous, but you said it was humorous too, and you made fun of it, and then you went on to the point where, and you haven't done it since, but you made one video where a couple times, like, you just kind of like piggybacked on like what he was doing. And you're like, okay, I'm gonna be the creepy. I don't remember what you did exactly, but you were making, you brought light into it in when
I turned into a lizard or whatever.
What's that?
When I turn into a lizard or whatever?
Yeah, something like, yeah, exactly. Where it was like, it was just hilarious. It was like perfect approach, because it was like, yeah, dude, this is just like, that's silly. That's just really silly. Like, and the fact that
obviously observably silly. Yeah. It's like, man, yeah, the issue you were talking about earlier in the video about those that can't see it, I sort of had that feeling about those that observe his channel. But, again, I'm also looking at it from my perspective. I don't watch his channel. I've seen what I've seen and blah, blah. So I'm kind of coming to these conclusions based off of a very limited amount of information about him. But I will say, like, okay, if I left a comment on your channel and you didn't reply to it, or you replied to it in a way that I didn't like, I wouldn't be watching your channel for 2 years, your best buddy, and then all of a sudden flip the script on you completely and call you all the worst shit you could call somebody. So it's like, oh, you're that type of person. Then the more that who he actually was revealed to me, I was just like, oh, this motherfucker's like actually a gross, creepy boy. So yeah, it's like, then he was like trying to be friendly after I realized he was like a stalker, creepy fucking child sniffer boy. I was just like, I ain't trying to be cool with you, you fucking degenerate. Like, you're literally the opposite of what I am. Like, to me, you're more one of them than you are one of me. But yeah, fuck him. I don't give a fuck about that bozo.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. I didn't, like I said, it's just been one of those things like I've observed, and I just go, whatever. I don't know why. I don't know why it happens. I don't know why it continues to happen. It doesn't really matter. But at this point, it's just boring. It's just stupid. It's like the same stuff over and over again. Like
Yeah,
I
I'm
said,
glad you realized
I
that.
just, yeah, it's like from my perspective, of course, I'm going to listen to somebody that says something and see what they have to say, because they might say something I go, oh, I never really thought about that. And it's a good point. But over and over again, watched it, and it's just the same garbage. It's like,
You
nah,
cut out at
you're
butt.
not. What's that?
You cut out at butt.
I said I watched it, and I said, but the problem is, it's all the same stuff. There's never anything revealed. It's like there's never anything said. It's all making fun of you in some weird, bizarre way. And it's like, yeah, it's like if you're trying to be humorous, it's like, and trying to poke fun of people. Okay, that's fine. But how many times are you going to do this? How many times are you going to do this over and over again? It's like, it's played out. Like, get over it, move on. Like, pick somebody else. I mean, it's just done, dude. Like,
Almost like a scripted AI creature. That's funny because the demonic voices that Dr. Marzinski talks about that everybody hears, especially schizoids like Stevie, are very scripted type creatures. Over and 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 over.
Yeah.
It's like, get a fucking grip on reality, you bozo. The best way I said it was the most primitive way. Get off my dick, you fucking creepy boy. Now, if I was a grown man and another grown man said to me, get off my dick, you fucking creepy boy, because I was obsessively making corny videos about him, I would feel pretty small in that moment and be like, whoa, maybe I am a little bit of a creep, but not little Stevie boy. He's still painting his penguins and being a little creepy boy. Or at least I think. Again, I don't watch his channel. I don't know. Maybe he's still making videos about me. One of you says he is. Don't know and don't care all that much. He's a bozo to me. Just a low level thing in the reality to worry about. Like, I'm talking about the mind virus that fucking yeah, I just one of you, I hope you've got. I appreciate that you are conscious enough to see through the stupidity, the lies, the deception, the obvious stupidity from his part. Like, if you have an issue and they open an avenue of communication, why would you run from that? The fact that you can see that is what I have faith in. Like, no, the people on his channel are still truth seekers, and if they can't see through it, then they're too dumb anyways. Like, I can't help motherfuckers that stupid.
Yeah, no. That's why I said your approach to it has been great. And then you even laughed at some of it, which was another thing that I was like, well, yeah, I mean, you're gonna have, if you can't laugh at yourself, and and it's like, yeah, some of if you look at it and you go, okay, it's funny, great, but
Yeah.
and you laughed at it, you made humor in it, and you were like, okay, it's funny, yeah, and it's like, yeah, okay, it's funny, it's kind of,
Well, no,
yeah,
his
chopped
shit was
up,
not funny. His shit is corny, creepy, and cringy. The one thing he did that I thought was kind of funny was make a parody account called Chrissy Shitteris, which that's the one thing.
That's what you said. That's
yeah,
what you said. Yeah,
that douchebag did one thing that was kind of funny. He called me Chrissy Shitteris, and that's kind of funny. I said, but other than that, that dude's a fucking dickhead.
Yeah,
I mean, like, how would it be funny to Okay, when I picked fun at him, dude, I ended up wearing a lizard mask, talking in a demon voice, like, my minions, like, when he makes fun of me, it's some dude that seems like he's doped to the fucking gills with some sort of pain med or something, barely drooling, like slowing down the video.
Yeah, no,
like, look, guys, he's a lizard. It's like, dude, this is the furthest thing from funny I've ever seen in my life. This is what you would put in a comedy show if you wanted to scare people out of the fucking building. This is not funny. Well, yeah. I don't find his shit funny. The few things I see.
That stuff's not funny. That's what I'm saying. It's not fair because that stuff's not funny. He's not. That stuff is not.
It's just a hateful little negative human. I just don't care about him. He's a bozo to me.
It's just not funny. It's that stuff's. It's not fair. It's not fair. I mean, especially if you are a truther, and you are trying to reveal stuff, you're definitely not doing it that way because you're not revealing anything. All you're doing is chopping up videos, slowing it down, making making you look weird. And it's like distorting pictures or whatever the hell he does. I mean, I don't know why, but whatever. It's that stuff's not cool. But at the end of the day, it does reveal what it is, because he won't have a conversation. That's for sure. We know that much. You can guarantee that he's not going to be talking.
Dude, to me, they're almost NPCs. Like, again, it's been going on now for however long it's been going on for. What if it's still happening in 5 months? Like, are there still going to be like these weird, drooling weirdos at his channel going, yeah, he is. Like, again, why would I even address these low-level entities? They're incapable of critical thinking. So,
well, according to a lot of people in the comments, it's all him doing that. Like all his comments are all him. Just different channels that he's created, and he's like, your content is so amazing. It's like, well, what was so amazing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, whoa.
Oh, dude, I seen him doing that during this whole fiasco. I would go to the channels I was subscribed to and watch, and I would see he would leave a comment on one of his alt accounts saying, oh, you guys should go check out this other dude, and then another one of his alt, and he's got like 15 of them. I actually have the list. It was emailed to me by one of the other people he was stalking and acting creepy with, but there's a list of channels that were him. The only ones I can remember off the top of my head are El Diablo, Sanity Machine, whatever, Abstract Angel Artist. I can't really remember all of them, but there was a list of them, and it was that list of ones that kept leaving the negative comments. I was like, oh, okay, it's this fucking douche. He's so pathetic that he can't even find real people to agree with his hatred for me, that he has to pretend he's other people doing it. It's just bizarre. It's like that alone. And then that type of behaviored human is like, hey, let's be buddies. It's like, dude, I see you for what you are now. You're a creep to me. Well, anyways, but yeah, let's stop talking about this fucking bozo. I'm glad that you see through the bullshit, and I hope that other people also see through his stupid ass shit. But yeah, dude, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. One of you really appreciate the conversation. When I seen your comment, I was like, this dude needs to talk to someone, because your comment was something like, I would love to talk to you, but it just seems like something is never going to let it happen, or it was something along those lines. And I was like, all right, I got to talk to him. Again, I've been busy lately. When I wasn't busy, I was pretty ill dealing with an issue recently, but, defeated that monster. On to the next chapter. But thank you for having the conversation, brother. I appreciate you, and I'll catch all of you guys on the next one.